Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. Who am I? I am your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we gather around together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, some pop culture stuff, all sorts of good things. And I'm so glad you decided to join me here on this Friday. Congratulations, guys. You made it through to the end of another week. May you have a glorious, filled with righteous victory weekend planned ahead for yourselves. A special shout out to all of our friends and fellow movie fans down in and around Florida. Buckle down, guys. Come through the other side of all that stuff that's going on. And again, we're looking forward to glorious victory on your part as well as you get through it and endure this weather crap that's going on. So our thoughts to all of you guys down there as well. Hey, listen, I am flying solo today. But John, you told us that Rob was going to be joining you. Yes, Robert Meyer Burnett was going to be joining me today. But as happens with Robert Meyer Burnett and his work, you know, things come up at the last second with him. He does a lot of spot work for people, right? Because he's highly in demand. And he wrote to me last night to let me know, sorry, last second this thing came up that I thought we could put off till last week or next week. Got to do now. So Rob's not here today. So it's just you and I in this intimate little romantic setting for two as we talk about our favorite things. I had a great day yesterday. Before we get into our big topics and everything. First of all, great show yesterday. I had a great time doing the show yesterday. The chat board was hopping. The super chats were all great. Gave away a couple of posters, which was a lot of fun. Chris is always great to have around. I love having Chris on the show. It was just a good show yesterday. I felt really good about the show. I was really pumped after the thing. But then a couple other good things happened yesterday. First of all, one of the things that happened yesterday, I found out, this is a true story. I found out yesterday that I am a multimillionaire. I didn't know. Here's the background. So, as happens when you do shows like this, once in a while you get hate mail. And I got a piece of hate mail, a hate message from somebody saying, you know, how dare you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I know you're, I looked online and I found out that you're a millionaire. I'm like, what? Really? So I did this, I did a Google search yesterday, true story. Yesterday, Ann and I were on our way to our date night. We're in the back of our Uber on our way to our date night. We went to go see The Farewell last night, which I'll tell you about that in a second. So I do a quick Google search, John Campea net worth. And the internet doesn't lie, folks. Big top thing at the top of the Google results. John Campea's net worth, $1.5 million. I'm like, shit, really? To which my wife looked at me and I showed that to Ann. She goes, why you drive 2000 Integra then? I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just cheap, I suppose. So, and the internet never lies. The internet's never wrong, right? We know that. So I guess I should be in a good mood because I just found out I'm a millionaire. Woohoo! Because the internet told me so. So it must be true. So that was a good thing to find out. Anyway, then Ann and I last night, we went to go check out the new Alamo Drafthouse movie theater that just opened here in Los Angeles. Now, the Alamo Drafthouse isn't the biggest movie chain in the world, but it's one of the more celebrated ones in North America. Now, I've got some ethical issues with the CEO and the guy who runs that company. I personally feel he's kind of shady. That being said, the reputation of the Alamo Drafthouse as a movie theater and a movie-going experience is a really good one. Now, it's been a long time since I've been in an Alamo Drafthouse movie theater. Years and years and years ago, down in Austin, Texas, when I was at a South by Southwest film festival. So I went to this one here in Los Angeles. I got to say, it was really good. It was really good. They've got a great bar area, video game. They got a video game, like a mini video game arcade with like 8 classic video games that are free to play. You don't have to pay to play them. Plus, they've got all these board games there that you can just pull out a board game and play a board game. Ann and I got there about an hour early, so I ordered some wings. How bad are movie theater wings going to be? I'll tell you what, they were some of the best wings I've had in Los Angeles. Not the best, but they were really good wings. I got to tell you, I had some really, really good wings. Then we went into the theater. They've got the motorized recliners, not as comfortable as AMC A-List. or AMC Prime leather recliners. Not nearly as comfortable, but much better than regular movie seats. That was for sure. Good food service, a little bit pricey, but not ridiculously expensive. I got to tell you, though, overall, it was a really good movie-going experience. I still think iPic, which has filed for bankruptcy, but they're still in business. They're still in business. It doesn't mean they're going out of business. But I still think iPic is the better movie-going experience in Los Angeles, at least at any rate. But I got to say, this Alamo Drafthouse that's in downtown Los Angeles was a really good experience. Everything from before going into the movie theater, the bar, the restaurant, the video games. They have this great retro shop. You can buy a lot of things. They have free DVD and Blu-ray rentals that you can take home for free. They have just a lot of good stuff. And the theater was a very nice theater. Leather recliners. Again, not as comfortable as the AMC Prime recliners, but very nice. You could order food anytime. The wait staff was very attentive and really good. I love that they have a zero tolerance policy with people taking out their phones. You take out your phone, they kick your ass out. Glory to them for that. Strength and honor to Alamo Drafthouse for that. I love that. So it was a good night. It was a good night. I had a really good time. Saw the Farewell, which I was totally late on getting on board and watching this movie. Completely lives up to the hype. It completely lives up to the hype. My wife was, Anne, every time I looked over at Anne, she was just a bawling mess, and like wiping her eyes. But it's charming and funny and touching and endearing and heartbreaking. And it's just a beautiful movie and very simple. The premise of the movie is so incredibly simple, but it's touching and beautiful and insightful and profound. And God, I loved it. I don't think it's my number one film of the year, but it's in my top 3 for sure. It's absolutely my top 3. So if you've not seen The Farewell yet, I gotta highly recommend that you guys go out and check out The Farewell, because it is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. I'm watching this and I'm like, this is what filmmaking is. Like when you don't have $200 million and a 500-person visual effects team and blah, blah, blah. Just a director and a camera and go tell a story. And I'm just sitting there watching this thing. I'm like a lot of the feelings I got watching Booksmart, it's like this is what filmmaking is. And it just whisked me into the movie. I adored it. I absolutely adored it, and I was a little bit nervous because I was afraid the hype was going to get me unrealistically high expectations, but it met my expectations. If you guys haven't seen that, go out and check that out. Tonight's going to be good too. Ann and I, every year we go to a concert at the Hollywood Bowl for John Williams, Maestro of the Movies, and the annual John Williams concert is tonight at the Hollywood Bowl. So Ann and I are cracking out our lightsabers, because whenever they play Star Wars music at the John Williams concerts, all of a sudden, 14,000 people pull out lightsabers and waving their lightsabers to the beat of the music. It's glorious. So we're going to be packing our lightsabers, going down to the Hollywood Bowl tonight to see that John Williams concert, which, I look forward to every year. I look forward to every year very, very much. And I'm excited about that. So anyway, with all that down, guys, let's start talking about some bigger movie topics things. But before we do, listen, why don't you do a couple of things for me before we get rolling here? Number one, why don't you click on that subscribe button? Become a subscriber to the John Campea YouTube channel. Stay up to date on all the things we got going on here. Also, if you like these types of videos and you like these types of topics and these discussions, whether you agree with me or not, give the video a thumbs up. That helps the videos as well. And make sure you join the conversation by jumping into the live chat or jumping into the comment section below and leaving your thoughts in a pleasant, great way, as we are all films fans together. And if you want your comment or question read on air, just leave a super chat. Use the super chat function. It's a great way to guarantee that your topic or question gets read on the show. Also, it's a great way to support the channel as well. And before we roll it off, last night we gave away 2 posters. And today, just as a thank you just as a little thank you to you guys who support the channel by using Super Chat, I'm going to pick one Super Chat at random after the show is done, and then I'll reach out to you if I picked your Super Chat at random, and I'm going to send out this Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker limited poster that was handed out at D23. This was handed out at D23. I'm really lucky my friend Ryan gave me another copy of it, so I'm still going to have one for myself, but that meant I can give one away. And we're going to give that away a little bit later, just as a thank you to you guys who use Super Chat to add to the conversation, add to the show, and to contribute to the show as well. So I thank you for that. Okay, with that down, let's talk about this thing here. Last night, just before I was getting ready to go to bed, a new Terminator trailer dropped. We got a brand new Terminator trailer. And I'll tell you what, the first Terminator trailer was okay, but it was hard to get past. It's really unfortunate that something as insignificant as the music choice for the trailer can totally ruin a trailer for you. Because I think if you took out that ridiculous "I'm going hunting and I'm so sad" song that they had playing throughout that trailer, which was a totally wrong piece of music to pick for that trailer. I think if you take that music out, I probably enjoy that trailer a hell of a lot more, but it brought the whole trailer down overall. Last night, they debuted a new trailer for Terminator. I believe it's Dark Fate. Is that what it is? Whatever. Electric Boogaloo. So we've got the trailer for a new trailer for Terminator dropped last night. Gotta say, I like this trailer a whole hell of a lot more. Than that first trailer that came out. Hell of a lot more. I just thought it was superior in every single frickin' way. I really do. Like, I like when Sarah Connor says to Schwarzenegger, "When this is done, I'm going to kill you." "I understand." I mean, you're clearly upset. Just the Arnold stuff was great. They cleared up a question about whether Mackenzie Davis was herself a Terminator. They cleared it up saying, no, she's an enhanced human. So I don't know if that means she's the mixed $6 million woman or something like that, whatever. So she is an enhanced human. I guess that's all right. The history, as is a theme in Terminator, history is repeating itself. You know, Sarah Connor, Mackenzie Davis asked Sarah Connor, "Why you want to help her?" "Because I was her." And so we see history in a loop. History is repeating itself. I love the line in this trailer where she says, "You may have, changed our future, but you didn't change our fate," which is also a running theme throughout the Terminator things, that fate is almost inevitable. Like Thanos, fate is inevitable. I thought they gave us some great looking action shots, some great one-liners. Look, for me, this trailer is not like the best trailer of the year. This is not the best trailer I've seen this year. But in terms of trailers, it's pretty good. I thought it was a big step up from the first one at any rate. Like at least, at minimum, you can say this is a far superior trailer to that first one. The airplane stuff looked sharp to me. I know some people thought the airplane stuff looked a little cheesy. I thought it looked sharp. I think the action with the Terminator, with Luna, like that one scene where all the cops jump on him and just blades start shooting out from all over the place. I'm like, okay, that's pretty awesome in all of its gory awfulness. That's pretty awesome. I got a lot more hope. And one of the things they did in the trailer, I don't know if you guys noticed this. One of the things they did in the trailer was they're really pimping the James Cameron involvement. I mean, James Cameron didn't direct this film, but they're like, "James Cameron returns." It's like, okay, and you should take advantage of that and use that as a part of your marketing pop. I get it. But listen, is it a perfect trailer? No. Is it the best trailer of the year? No. Did it suddenly turn Terminator Dark Fate into my most anticipated movie of the year? No. But I gotta tell you, I liked it. I thought it was pretty sharp. I really did. I thought it was a big step up. Question here is, guys, what did you think about this new Terminator trailer? I think it was a big step up. Were you loving it? Were you disappointed by it? What do you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with our main topics by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, you'll see a form. Fill out that form with your topic or question. Keep it to 90 words or less. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's now go on to topic number 1. And our first topic today gets sent in to us from Justin, who writes, "Hey, John, you often talk about what could be next for Kevin Feige. If he was to successfully integrate the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Deadpool, and all the new characters they've announced into the MCU, do you think he could be next in line for Alan Horn's job at Disney?" All right, thanks for sending that in. And yes, I have often speculated about what comes next for Kevin Feige. Now, I know what fanboys love is the idea that Feige will be here forever. No, he won't be. No, he won't be. That's not how talented people work. Kevin Feige, at some point, look, he has done everything he can possibly do at Marvel. There's literally nothing left for him to do. That he has created a film franchise that over the course of 23 movies has nearly averaged $1 billion per movie. That will never be replicated again. That will never be replicated again. What he has done is unthinkable. He has made the comic book genre the most dominant force in Hollywood, single-handedly. He has now climbed the ultimate peak where one of his movies is now the #1 box office film of all time. It won't be for long because at some point Disney will re-release Titanic to help it promote, or Avatar, I should say, to help promote the upcoming Avatar films, and then Avatar will pass in game, but whatever. For now, he has produced the #1 box office film of all time. When you go to the all-time box office list now, his films are littered in there. Now, yes, he can still integrate X-Men into the MCU. That's a small accomplishment compared to the other ones. Yeah, he can integrate Fantastic Four, a nice another little feather in his cap, but that pales in comparison to building a 23-film empire, averaging $1 billion a time and having the #1 box office film of all time. The only stuff that's left for Kevin Feige to do now are maintenance things. That's it. He's built the world's fastest car, and now all that's left is minor maintenance. Tightening up the bolts here, maybe slapping a new paint job on it, but it's all little things that are left. It's just maintenance now. He has built the world's ultimate movie juggernaut, and now it's all just maintenance. And I have contended, and I still do, that Kevin Feige is ambitious. Kevin Feige is creative. He wants to create. He's got the juices flowing, and at some point, people like Kevin Feige, you may want to deny this all you want, but at some point, Kevin Feige is going to be looking for the next mountain to climb, the next hurdle to jump, the next river to cross, and the next obstacle to overcome, and the new challenges that await him for him to go out and conquer. That's what lazy people wouldn't, but guys like Kevin Feige, he will. He's going to be looking for the next challenge. Now, that may happen next year, that may happen in 3 years, that may happen in 5 years, but at some point, within the next 5 years, Kevin Feige is going to be gone. And the question we've been raising here is, where does he go next? Now, there are some people who will say, oh, he should, everybody knows Bob Iger's planning on retiring soon, the High Emperor of Disney. He'll be the next Bob Iger. No, he won't. Because the job Bob Iger has is a radically different job than the job that Kevin Feige has. Bob Iger's job is not a creative job. Bob Iger is a corporate overlord job. He is running theme parks and enterprises and merchandising and blah, blah, and all. He's running a huge brand, blah, blah, blah. And the Marvel part is just a part of that brand. Kevin Feige's a filmmaker. Bob Iger is not a filmmaker, and Bob Iger's role is not the role of a filmmaker. Kevin Feige would have no idea how to do Bob Iger's job. That's a totally different thing. But then some people would speculate, well, maybe he'll take over Lucasfilm. Well, that's a possibility, because everybody knows Kevin Feige is a diehard Star Wars fan. He's a maniac. He's a Star Wars maniac. So maybe taking over Lucasfilm at some point is his next mountain to climb. The one downside about that, though, and by the way, I've been one of the people who've said, yeah, Feige's next challenge could be Lucasfilm. But the one drawback of that is it's a lateral move, right? It's a lateral move. It's a different challenge, but it's still just a lateral move. I think what Justin brings up in his message is completely something we've got to take seriously. What if Bob Iger and Alan Horn are grooming Kevin Feige to take over Alan Horn's job? Now, for those of you who don't fully understand what Alan Horn does, Bob Iger is the Grand Imperial Emperor of all things Disney. Okay? He's the major shareholder, he is the chairman of the board, and he is the CEO. He runs everything related to Disney. But when it comes to the movie business, Alan Horn is the general. Alan Horn is the head guy of Disney Pictures. That includes Pixar, Lucasfilm, Marvel, Disney Studios, Disney Animation. It includes all of that. He is the high overseer and war chief, if you will, of all things Disney movies. Bob Iger is the head of all things Disney, period. Alan Horn is the high lord of all things Disney movies. So he's not just responsible. He's not just the guy that Kevin Feige reports to. Alan Horn is Kevin Feige's boss. He's the guy Kathleen Kennedy reports to. He's the guy the folks at Pixar report to, and that the folks at Disney Animation report to, and that the heads of Disney Pictures report to. He oversees all it. Whereas Kevin Feige oversees Marvel, Alan Horn oversees Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, Disney Pictures, Disney Animation, so on and so forth. He is the guy they all answer to. Alan Horn's job is most like Kevin Feige's job, not Bob Iger's. Bob Iger's job is a totally different thing. That's something Kevin Feige wouldn't have the first clue of how to do. But Alan Horn's job, now that's something Alan Horn could be grooming him to do, as pretty much the most successful producers of all time. Now listen, I think people don't have an appreciation for Alan Horn. If you don't know much about Alan Horn and why he could be looking to step down soon, remember, back in the day, Alan Horn was the president of Warner Brothers during the era that they had their biggest successes. He was the shepherd over at Warner Brothers as they were doing their Harry Potter stuff and like all the Dark Knight and everything. Alan Horn was the president and chief operating officer at Warner Brothers during all that time. He was crazy successful until when Alan Horn was 68 years old. Their corporate overlords forced him out because he was too old. Not because he wasn't doing a great job, not because he wasn't a master at the art, not because he wasn't a master at that gig. They forced him out because they said he was too old now. He was too old now. Too old to begin the training. He was too old. 68, too old. Go away, shoo Alan Horn. And they shooed him out and they forced him to retire. They said, this thing needs to be led by younger people. Despite all the golden success he had led them to, they threw him out and they made him retire. Now, granted, he was 68 years old. Why not retire, Alan? You probably had all the money in the world. Why not kick back, relax, and enjoy life, son? You know? You deserved it. You earned it. But he wasn't ready. But they put him into retirement. And he started to enjoy retirement. And then in 2012, 2011, 2012, somewhere around there, Bob Iger called Alan Horn and said, look, I need you to come out of retirement. I need you to come out of retirement and come and run Disney Pictures. We need you. We need you, Alan. Come out of retirement. You're the best. Come out of retirement and come do this. Alan Horn thought about it. And when you know what? All right, I'll do that. By the way, Alan Horn was a captain in the Air Force. He's a black belt martial artist. At D23, he even showed off this old from the 70s, the cover of Black Belt magazine with him on the cover of it from the 70s. This dude is an impressive man. Alan Horn is an impressive man. So in 2012, Bob Iger talked Alan Horn into coming out of retirement and to shepherd in a new era for Disney Pictures. And what has happened since? Billion-dollar film after billion-dollar film after billion-dollar film. Doesn't matter if it's a Star Wars billion-dollar film or multiple Marvel billion-dollar films or Lion King and Toy Story and Aladdin and all these other billion-dollar films. Under Alan Horn's leadership, Disney Pictures has enjoyed the greatest success out of any movie studios or collection thereof in the history of the business. That's Alan Horn. Now, I can piss on Alan Horn's shoes because I hated the way he handled the James Gunn situation. I did. But that doesn't take away from this huge laundry list of what makes him the best in the business. And we can criticize this and we can criticize that, but at the end of the day, the dude's the best of the best. And now Alan Horn has got to be thinking, that was 7 years ago. He was talked out of retirement 7 years ago. And with Bob Iger looking to retire pretty soon, you got to know that Alan has got to be thinking about hanging it up at some point and enjoying his legacy and enjoy the fruits of his many labors. And that brings in Kevin Feige. Now, as of right now, Alan Horn, his technical title now is co-chairman now and chief operating officer of Disney Studios, but he's got a co-chair who works for him named Alan Bergman. Now, a lot of people may think, well, Alan Bergman is clearly then the guy that they're grooming, but I've got to believe at this point that when you're Kevin Feige and you've produced 23 movies averaging $1 billion a piece, and you've crafted the most dominant genre in the business and all that kind of stuff, I've got to believe that they may also be looking at Kevin Feige to step up and take over Alan Horn's job when Alan Horn decides it's time to go. Because who would be better to continue to oversee Marvel, like installing a new president for Marvel and let them do their thing, but have Kevin Feige overseeing them and overseeing Lucasfilm and overseeing Pixar, and who better than this guy to do that? Now, that doesn't guarantee that's going to happen, but I think that is a absolutely valid theory that they could be looking at grooming him, because for if you're Kevin Feige, that does a couple things. Number one, it gives you a big new challenge to not only oversee Marvel, but now all these other studios at the same time. Installing your own leaders into those positions and guiding all of it, as Alan Horn guided it, into a new glorious era. It represents a great challenge for Kevin Feige. It keeps Kevin Feige in the family, so to speak. I just think it would be a magnificent move. Now, at the same time, Warner Brothers may offer Kevin Feige head of studio. You'll be the head of studio at Warner Brothers. I guarantee you, when it comes time for Kevin Feige to look for his next challenge, he will have no shortage of opportunities being offered to him by every single studio there is. But I think the most logical place for him, and I don't know that this is going to happen, I'm just saying, I think the most logical move for him next, for both him and for Disney, is for him to do, just as you suggested, Justin, for him to step up and take over Alan Horn's massive set of shoes and take that over and guide Disney to the next great era. Question here is, guys, what do you think about that? Do you think that Kevin Feige could be a good replacement for Alan Horn to shepherd all of Disney Pictures? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the second main topic today. And our second main topic today is sent in to us from Sebastian, who writes, "Hey guys, big fan." Thank you so much, Sebastian. "So I'm seeing more and more about the Regal Unlimited card, and I do believe the one near me has it. So I am I am one that usually goes to the movies when there's a movie that catches me, but there are also some that I'm interested in, but tickets are so expensive. Do you think it would be a good idea for me to get the card? Maybe I could attend more movies. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Sebastian. And listen, I've been saying for a while, with the dawn of AMC A-List, which is still, quite frankly, the best movie subscription service out there, with the dawn of AMC A-List, I called it, and I still do, the greatest thing that's ever happened to hardcore movie fans. AMC A-List, Regal Unlimited, Cinemark's Movie Club, Alamo Drafthouse's membership, they're not really all that useful to somebody who's, say, going to go to a movie once a month. But for those of us who like to go 3 times, 4 times a month, 5, 6, 7 times a month, then A-List, Regal Unlimited, stuff like that is a godsend. It's a godsend. Like, I could have gone to a movie at AMC Burbank 16 here last night and paid $18 for a ticket. Or I could pay $22 a month for my A-List membership and go to 12 movies that month. You know, it is crazy. I've been saying for a while, look, before Unlimited launched, I said, if you live near an AMC theater and you go to more than one movie a month, it behooves you to get these membership things. It absolutely does. I mean, I get it. I'm somebody who doesn't like paying monthly memberships on anything either. I get it. I'm like that too. That said, this is a program that will save you money. Now, Regal came out now and finally launched their subscription service. It's not as good as A-List in the fact that you got to pay some upcharges. The plans are a little, they got several different level of plans, all called unlimited, which is stupid and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't compare it to the A-List plan, it's still a great deal. If you are a film fan and you live near Regal Cinemas, don't let this notion of, well, I heard A-List was a better deal. Maybe it is by a little bit, but make no mistake, this Regal Unlimited plan, if you live near Regal Theater, I highly encourage you, Sebastian, dive on that thing. And you bring up one of the best advantages of these cards, because I know so many people that have A-List. I don't know a lot of people yet that have Regal Unlimited because they just launched it, but I know so many people who have A-List that have, like my buddy Soul, for example. He's gone to so many more movies now just because he knows it's covered. He doesn't have to buy a ticket. It's covered with his A-List. All he's got to do is go on his app, reserve a seat, and boom. And so there are movies that he has been, well, that looks like it could be interesting, but do I want to drop another $20 to go see another film that I'm not totally sure about? Maybe not. But I got A-List. What do I got to lose? Boom. And now he's going and appreciating more theater and more cinema, seeing a wider variety of films and stuff like that, getting to go back and watch films he loves multiple times, whereas maybe before he thought, I'm not going to spend another $40 to go see that movie 2 more times, but you don't have to worry about that. Because you got A-List and now you got the Regal Unlimited. I really believe wholeheartedly, and I've said this for a while, that if you are a film fan, and I'll say it again, if you like going to more than one movie a month, or you would like to go to more than one movie a month, you just can't justify to yourself the expense of going to the movies, and if you live anywhere near an AMC theater or a Regal cinema, which most people in the U.S. should be within driving distance of one of those two. Not everybody will, but most people should. I highly encourage you to jump on that. If you live closer to an AMC, get the AMC one. If you live closer to a Regal one, get a Regal one. If you live an equal distance between a Regal and an AMC and you like both theaters equally, lean towards the AMC A-List, but otherwise you can't go wrong with the Regal Unlimited one either. So absolutely, I don't think there's any reason for a film fan not to have one of these. The only way I would say you maybe shouldn't get one is if you know you don't even like going to more than one movie a month. In that case, it's more cost-wise to just buy a ticket when you go. But anything other than that, definitely get those things. What do you guys, how would you guys answer to something like that? Can you think of other legitimate reasons other than not having a theater near you why maybe a dedicated film fan wouldn't want or shouldn't have one of these services? I can't think of another one other than the fact that not going all that much. What do you guys think? Jump into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us from Cedric Strode, who writes, According to Fandango.com, Andy Muschietti has signed on to direct the Flash movie. Seems like they are moving forward with this movie. We're starting to hear info leaks again from Warner Brothers about DCEU's future. Do you think we'll have to wait until next year's Hall H for any real confirmations? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And Fandango was absolutely right. We don't have to wait for any confirmations. Andy Muschietti himself, the director of It and It Chapter 2, has confirmed that Flash will be his next movie. He is going to be working on The Flash, which I think is a good thing. That's a good thing. He was already asked about whether he'll bring horror elements because, you know, he's known for doing It and It Chapter 2. Natural question for somebody to ask him if he'll be bringing horror into it. To which Muschietti said, no, I don't think I'm going to be bringing any horror into this. I just love this script, he said. I love this character. It's going to be really about this character. It's a very human story, he said. Said a lot of good things. So, if that's true, why do I not sound all that excited? Why do I not sound all that excited about Andy Muschietti, who did a terrific job with It, and I'm hearing did a really good job with It Chapter 2. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it in a couple of days. And I love The Flash. Why am I not more excited about this? Oh, well, I'll tell you why. It's difficult to get too excited about any of this when it's just been a revolving door of directors and writers on this Flash project now literally for years. If I'm not mistaken, Andy Muschietti is now the 4th director to be brought into this movie. There have been 3 different sets of writers, maybe 4. I can't remember exactly. So at this point, when it comes to the Flash movie and any announcements about directors or writers, I can just say, well, okay, it sounds good, but I can't get excited about it because this whole Flash thing has been a revolving door. People come in, people leave. People come in, people leave. People come in, people leave. This is a movie. This Flash movie was already supposed to be in theaters like a year ago or months ago, wasn't it? Wasn't like the original release date for the Flash movie? It was like, it's not only supposed to have been in production, this movie is supposed to be in theaters already. And yet it's just this revolving door. And by the way, I still know, I'm not saying this 100%. Don't quote me on this. I'm just saying, I don't think that Ezra Miller is going to be the Flash anymore, which I think is a shame because I really liked Ezra Miller's Flash. I don't like his attitude lately, but I do really like him as the Flash. I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people had problems with Ezra Miller's Flash in Justice League. I, for one, actually really enjoyed his Flash. I thought he was really good. I thought he kind of embodied a really good spirit for the character. I thought he was just very charming on screen. And yet I bought into he could be very powerful at the same. Just a lot I liked about Ezra Miller's incarnation of Flash and how he portrayed him. I don't think he's going to be Flash anymore. Now, again, I don't know that. I'm just saying, you know, from things I've heard and whatever, I'm thinking he's not going to be Flash anymore. We'll have to wait. Maybe he will be, maybe he won't be. I got a feeling they're probably going to give Andy Muschietti the opportunity to choose his own Flash, but who knows? Who knows? We'll find out. I do know that right now I like the direction the DCEU is going. You know, they're on a winning streak right now, and things seem to be going in a good direction. So whatever happens, whether Andy actually ends up directing it or in 3 months he leaves again due to creative differences or whatever, right now things seem to be going in the right direction for the DCU. So all we can do at this point is keep, you know, all 4 sets of our fingers crossed for this Flash film. Maybe it'll actually happen. What do you guys think about it? Number one, what do you think about the addition of Andy Muschietti? Do you like that choice? Do you think it should have been somebody else? And the bigger question is, do you think this one's going to stick? Because we've seen several rounds of directors and writers come and go, and none of them has stick. Do you think this one's going to stick? Maybe it will. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our 4th main topic today. And our 4th main topic today gets submitted to us by Kevin W. Crutchfield, who writes, Rotten Tomatoes said it has added 600 independently verified critics over the past year as a part of an ongoing push to support underrepresented voices in film and TV criticism. Of the new critics, 55% are women, 60% are freelancers, and 10% publish reviews via YouTube. I'm one of those 10%, as a matter of fact. Podcasts and other emerging avenues. It really seems the inclusiveness objective has many facets: gender, race, ethnicity, as well as the platforms where critics' work appears. Given the shift from newspapers and magazines to digital platforms, would love to hear your thoughts. All right, so basically what Kevin is reminding us all of, about a little over a year ago, Rotten Tomatoes made a commitment that they wanted to expand the voices that were being added to the overall critic community on Rotten Tomatoes. You know, for a long time, there weren't YouTube critics, weren't allowed. And then even when they were, there was just a small collection of YouTube critics were even allowed to be on there. A lot of the critics were the more traditional ones who've been around for a long time, some digital voices as well, things like that. Now, which was all fine and well because, you know, even though a guy from the Boston Herald and the guy from the New York Post, they could be totally different people with totally different movie tastes, and that's good. The one thing that I love about Rotten Tomatoes and why I like the Rotten Tomatoes rating system is that it takes all these different people who have completely different tastes and completely different points of views, all these critics, and they all gather together to kind of throw their voices in, and then we just get a scale about how many of these vastly different people like the movie and how many of these vastly different people didn't like a movie. Just that simple. Just that simple. And I love that. And I think this addition of stuff that Rotten Tomatoes has just gone and done, I think does nothing but make it even better. Because remember, I think the strength of Rotten Tomatoes is not getting 5 critics together who all have the same taste and points of view, then giving an overall score. I like that it's hundreds of various critics from different backgrounds, different genders, and do their reviews on different platforms, podcasts, newspapers, YouTube, radio stations, wherever. I love the idea that they're taking what I believe is a strength, radically different voices, and adding even more diversity to it. Diversity of platforms that they use, diversity of age, diversity of gender, diversity of background. I just think it makes the platform stronger. And quite frankly, I don't see any downside to this addition of new voices. And by the way, it's important to point out something that Kevin said there. It's not like they went out and added 600 new voices and 580 of them were only women. It's not like they had this agenda to just go out and only add women voices. That's it. No, just women voices. It's important that they didn't go and say, we're only adding YouTube critics. That's it. Just YouTubers. We're only adding. No, they didn't do that. 55% was women, but 45% were men. 10% of them were YouTube platform people. I just think it's a good thing. Now listen, this change is not going to make anybody that doesn't like Rotten Tomatoes like them. Most people who don't like Rotten Tomatoes simply don't understand how Rotten Tomatoes works. Like, there are still a lot of, you'd be surprised, guys, there are still a lot of people out there who think Rotten Tomatoes gives a movie a score. And it's like, I find myself explaining to people every day, that's not how Rotten Tomatoes works. They take a collection of various widely diverse, different types of film critics who have totally different opinions from each other, and they simply gather up the information. How many of them like the movie? How many of them don't? And they simply tell us what percentage of film critics from that vastly different group of people like the movie and how many don't. Now, that doesn't mean it's the be-all, end-all, but I am constantly shocked every day how many people still think Rotten Tomatoes is just some boardroom where they go, let's give this movie this score. And that's not how Rotten Tomatoes works. It's a reflection of everybody's voice in the film criticism world, which I think is great. I think it's great. And the fact that they're adding more diversity in the platforms as well, adding more podcasters, adding more YouTubers, adding more older critics, adding more younger critics, I just think it's all good. Again, it's not going to make it the be-all, end-all, and it's not going to make people who don't like Rotten Tomatoes suddenly magically like Rotten Tomatoes, but I think it's taking something that's a strength and adding to it. So I think it's a good thing. Question is, guys, what do you think about it? Do you think this is a good move on their part? Do you think it's inconsequential? Do you think it's a bad move? What do you think about it? Jump down in the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets sent into us from Eric the Headmaster. I love that name, who writes, "Hey, John, I just saw an article that claims the upcoming Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus will take place 8 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith and 11 years prior to the events of A New Hope. Do you think this is a good period for the show? And do you think it gives any hints as to what else could be a part of it? Thanks." All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Eric. And yeah, it is big. I believe it was actually StarWars.com that released this information that the Obi-Wan show that we all got excited about that was announced at D23 will be taking place 8 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So 8 years after Obi-Wan flees and goes to Tatooine to keep an eye on this Luke kid. And 11 years before the beginning of Star Wars A New Hope. I think this is a great period to put him in. Mainly because of this. It is far enough away from Revenge of the Sith and far enough away from A New Hope that you can really do anything you want there. You can have adventures here where Obi-Wan has to go off planet for a bit. You can have adventures because you've got so much time separating Obi-Wan from the past events of Star Wars and from the future events of Star Wars, because there's so much time in there and you're putting him almost square in the middle, not quite square in the middle, but almost square in the middle. You're basically giving him a lot of buffer from the events of those other two movies, and you can really just make your own story at this point. Yes, there are certain canonical things that they have to abide by, but for a large part, you can do almost whatever you want. If it was taking place 1 year after Revenge of the Sith, he's probably still dealing with the fallout of the events of Revenge of the Sith. If it's like 1 year before A New Hope, well, then everything's got to pretty much tie into things that are leading up to what's going to happen in A New Hope. But you put him somewhere in the middle, and you got a lot more creative freedom. However, here's one thing that I think we are learning about this Obi-Wan show as a result of the time period they're saying this takes place in. And not everybody's going to be happy about this. But I think one of the things we learn about the Obi-Wan series is this: because of the time frame, there's not going to be any Darth Maul. Now, I know there are a lot of people who believe that it would be awesome if Darth Maul were to appear and Darth Maul and Obi-Wan had round two. You know? Now, of course, for those of you who don't know anything or don't watch the animated stuff, they think, wait a minute, Darth Maul died. Yeah, no, not really. He was cut in half. His life got saved. He had a spider body attached to him. Then he got cybernetic legs and all that kind of stuff. He's still around. That's why he was able to pop up in the events of Solo, because he's actually still alive. He's still alive. At least at a certain period of time, he's still alive. But there have been a lot of people that have thought, bring in Darth Maul. Darth Maul's got to be the bad guy. He's got to be the thing, the ultimate thing that Obi-Wan's got to deal with again. Now, there's always been a problem of canon when it comes to that theory. There's always been a problem of canon. Because in Star Wars Rebels, which is canon, in Star Wars Rebels, they established that Darth Maul didn't even know Obi-Wan was still alive. In Rebels, they established that Darth Maul didn't know that Obi-Wan survived the Order 66 purging of the Jedi. He doesn't know. But then in Rebels, he does discover that and then goes and finds Obi-Wan. And 2 years before the events of Star Wars A New Hope, he confronts Obi-Wan again for the first time. They have a quick 20-second battle and Obi-Wan kills Darth Maul. Spoiler alert. But that takes place in the timeline 2 years before the events of Star Wars A New Hope. This Obi-Wan show takes place 11 years before the events of Star Wars A New Hope. So canon dictates that Darth Maul doesn't find out that Obi-Wan is even still alive until like 9 years after the events of this Obi-Wan series. Star Wars canon dictates that Darth Maul doesn't even become aware that Obi-Wan is still alive until 9 years after the events of this new Obi-Wan series. So by canon, that means any potential for Darth Maul to be involved in this show is done. It's excluded. You can't. It violates canon. But that raises another question. Should, and I've seen this discussion pop up, should Star Wars break canon and violate canon in order to bring in Darth Maul into the Obi-Wan series? You know, I understand Rebels is canon. All the events of Rebels is official Star Wars history. If it happened in Rebels, it happened in the Star Wars universe. That's what canon is supposed to mean. However, some would say, such a glorious thing as Obi-Wan and Darth Maul facing off again, live action. Get Ray Park back in here. Get Sam Witwer to do the voice of Darth Maul. Have him square off against Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi again. How glorious would that be? That's worth, some people would propose, that is worth breaking canon. And possibly, it all depends on how sacred you hold canon. Now, for somebody like me, and thankfully not everybody is like me, but for somebody like me, canon is sacred. Canon is canon. Either something is canon or it's not. All right? Something can't sort of be canon. And the moment you take something that is canon and say it's no longer canon, then all of a sudden now nothing is legitimate. Nothing in your timeline or your lore or your mythology or your canon can ever be relied upon again. When you say this is canon and then tomorrow say it's not, well, then you have to wonder, then what else is canon? Nothing then is sacred in Star Wars. You know what? In the next Star Wars movie, let's just say, how about we say the Emperor worked for Vader? But you can't say that in the next movie because it's established canon that Vader was the Emperor's apprentice. The Emperor was Vader's master. Yeah, but in this next movie, how cool would it be if Vader was the Emperor's master? I think that'd be really cool. So let's just forget canon. No! At least that's me, right? I am a canon stickler. I am totally a canon stickler. That's why, even though I don't like the Star Wars prequels, I will defend the Star Wars prequels whenever somebody suggests they should retcon them or do away with them. I'm like, whoa, time out. Okay, listen, I don't like the Star Wars prequels at all, okay? But you don't touch those because they're canon. And if they're canon, they stay. It don't matter. But John, you don't like the prequels. It doesn't matter if I like the prequels or not. It doesn't matter. They're canon. And if they're canon, they stay. I often give the example of this. So you know how every family has got the one idiot uncle? Every family's got the one idiot uncle that maybe he's got a mild drug problem, can't hold down a job. You know, he's 43 years old and still lives with your grandmother. Can't get his act together. He has got no social skills. And everybody's just kind of ashamed, a little bit embarrassed of this uncle. But don't you dare attack that uncle. Don't you dare come into our family's house and attack our uncle. But you guys don't even like your uncle. Maybe, but he's family. You don't touch family. Maybe he's an idiot and maybe he's still living in my grandmother's basement. Maybe, but he's family. That means you don't touch him because he's family. That's how I feel about canon. And so I don't think you should touch that stuff personally. So, and I don't believe Star Wars will. I do not believe Star Wars will retcon Rebels, nor do I believe they should, because I believe canon should be sacred. But not everybody feels the same way. And that brings us to the topic of today's question of the day. Guys, if you go over to my Twitter, which you can find just simply here at John Campea, which by the way is where you can find me on Instagram as well. I'm very active on Instagram, but over on my Twitter at John Campea, I put up today's question of the day. And the topic of today's question of the day was very simple. The question is this: With the Obi-Wan series being set 11 years before the events of Star Wars, it rules out any Darth Maul appearance because of canon. But do you think they should retcon the events of Rebels to allow for Maul to be in it? And that and more on today's show. Now, clearly, I'm making the case that I don't think you should break canon. But right now, I put up this poll just before we started the show. Right now, a little over 2,000 of you guys have already voted, and still a full 34% of you guys, believe, yes, break canon. Do away with Rebels, do away with the canon in Rebels, and put Darth Maul in this Obi-Wan thing. It's worth it. 66% of you guys seem to agree with me right now, saying, no, do not break canon. Canon is canon for a reason. You don't just start throwing canon out the window. It is what it is. If you start doing that, nothing is canon anymore. So right now, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised. As many as 34% of you, that's a big number, are saying, yes, break canon, put him in there. 66% of you are siding with me on this and saying, no, you don't break canon. Don't put that in there. And listen, guys, I'm going to keep this poll up on my Twitter for the rest of the day. Jump on over there, cast your vote, let your voice be heard, and jump down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me that they shouldn't touch canon, or do you got some other points of view saying, you know what, John, I hear what you're saying about canon, but you got to consider this, this, and this. Maybe you got some good points to make. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, that wraps up all of our main topics today. And now we're going to move into taking your live questions. You guys have been throwing in the live questions like crazy here. So we're going to go over and get to those in just a minute. But before we do, we've been going for about an hour now. I've been talking for an hour straight. We're going to take a short 3.5 minute break. I'm going to go use the bathroom. I'm going to go retop my drink because now it's empty, and just give my voice a little bit of a rest. So hang tight with me, guys. We're going to be right back and get into your live questions. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the Terminator trailer. We're going to talk more about the Kevin Feige situation, the Flash situation, Rotten Tomatoes, and of course, this Obi-Wan thing. I'm sure you guys got some opinions about that. We're going to get to those in just a couple of minutes. Hang tight, and we will be right back. All right, and we are back. Thank you guys for your patience as I took a little bit of a break, went and refilled the old Skull Cup. I love that. By the way, I don't know if I haven't had this on the show in a while. Ann bought me this to use as my drinking cup for our Dungeons and Dragons game. So I use this to drink for my D&D games. Anyway, thanks for waiting, guys. All right, let's dive right into it now and get to your live questions. And we're going to start things off here with Tori Strauss. And Tori Strauss writes, just got out of Matrix 20th Anniversary Dolby Remaster. Nice. Movie still holds up pretty good. Remember, John, there is no spoon. You know, we talked the other day, Troy, about how great it is to be able to go to these movies that we love and see them on the big screen again. I mean, it's just great because that is the way we are meant to see movies. It's not in these crappy, and I don't care if you have an 80-inch TV. Your TV sucks compared to a movie theater, right? Big screen, big sound, a crowd of other fellow film fans. That's the way to see these movies. And yeah, I'd be curious. I don't know that I'm going to have time, but I'd be curious to check that out because it is good to know that it holds up because it is such an iconic movie. Such an iconic movie. And I'm glad, Troy, that you had a chance to go see that. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, subscribe to Regal Unlimited, and I just used it to see Pulp Fiction next Tuesday. Nice. So excited to see it in the theater for the first time. See, that's one of the great things about these things. And I was mentioning this a little bit earlier, Gabriel. When we got A-List and you got Regal Unlimited, you know, there's no reason not to just rent out and see this stuff, whether it's these special things like going to go see Pulp Fiction again, which you would have paid money for, so now you saved money. But then there's going to be other little movie events, other films, like maybe The Farewell doesn't look like a movie you'd go see, but you're hearing it's amazing. Well, I've got my A-List card. Why not go see it? It's not going to cost me anything. Go see it. And it's just great for that sort of stuff. So it's great that you were able to use your Unlimited to go to see a movie you love like that. That's awesome. Keep using it, man. All right. Mista47 writes, did y'all like Prison Break? I loved it. It's fantastic. I did, and that's part of the reason why it was so cool when you had the two main guys from Prison Break being on Legends of Tomorrow together, which is great. I gave up on Legends of Tomorrow. I watched the first couple seasons. I didn't mind them, but then it got so dumb, I eventually just tapped out on it. And I haven't seen any of this last season that they have. I didn't see a single episode of it, to be honest with you. But it was so cool at first when you're having like both lead guys first introduced in The Flash and then brought them into Legends of Tomorrow. That was one of the things that made it so cool. All right, Troy Strauss writes, somewhat related. My AMC has Matrix playing through next weekend on Dolby screens. Nice. Had to settle for laser IMAX for It Chapter 2 next week. WTF. What does that mean? AMC has Matrix playing through next weekend on Dolby screens. Had to settle for laser IMAX for It Chapter 2. Oh, are you saying that Matrix in there in the Dolby screen, they can't put It Chapter 2 in there? That's unfortunate, but I mean, there's only so much room. And I got to be honest with you, you're going to have now months. You're going to have a couple of months now to watch It Chapter 2. And I'm sure it's going to be on that Dolby screen sooner rather than later. So just give Matrix a little bit of time on there. Besides, laser IMAX for It. That's not bad. That's not a bad day at the movie theater either, my friend. That's not so bad. But come on, give Matrix a shot. It will have months that it can play in the Dolby theater if they want it in there. So hang tight, Troy. Hang tight. All right. Gabriel Reed writes, as a proud Regal Unlimited holder, I find it annoying to have that 50-cent surcharge for RPX and IMAX, but I find it still worth it. No AMC close to me. See, that is one of the things that does differentiate the AMC A-List from the Regal Unlimited cards, is that with AMC A-List, that's it. Once you pay your monthly fee, that's it. And you get to see movies in Dolby, in IMAX, in 3D, in Prime, whatever. With Regal Unlimited, you have to pay surcharges. Sometimes 50 cents, sometimes $1, sometimes $1.50, whatever. You do have to pay surcharges on top of using your card to get a ticket. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like you had to pay a $7 surcharge, right? So it's an annoyance. Having to pay an extra 50 cents, an extra $1, whatever, it's an annoyance. Whenever you want to see a movie that is overcrowded or is going to be 3D or is going to be an IMAX or is going to be in their RPX theater, it's an annoyance, but at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. right? It's not that big of a deal. You're spending an extra $5 a month to save probably $50 or $60 or $70 a month. Not that big of a deal. Again, it is an advantage of A-List over Regal Unlimited, but it's still pretty damn good. I contend it's still really, really good. Jonathan Teft writes, one of two. Something I don't get. With Netflix trying so hard to get recognized at the Oscars and get their movies played in theaters, why are they against doing what Amazon does? Amazon's movies get regular releases in theaters, often get critical praise, sometimes they do good at the box office like The Big Sick, and then make them available on Prime after their theatrical run. Jonathan, I do not know. I don't know. Now listen, I'm a big Netflix user. I enjoy Netflix very much. Just like I enjoy a lot of things very much, but I will criticize things that I think they are doing that is dumb. I believe this policy of Netflix is stupid. Listen, if you've got an original film, put it in theaters. Now, by putting it in theaters, that means you have to follow the rules that everybody else has to follow, which is if you want to play your movies in regular movie theaters, you got to have a 90-day theatrical window. That's the same rules everybody else follows. That's the exact same rule everybody else in the industry follows, right? What Netflix wants, they want to be treated special. Well, no, see, we want to put our movies in everybody's theaters, but we also then want to take it out of the theater right away and put it right on Netflix right away. And movie theaters are like, no. Why the hell would we agree to put your movie on our screens if you're just instantly going to pull it and then put it on your streaming service immediately? There is a theatrical window for a reason. Everybody else has to do it. Why don't you? And you're right. I'm with you, Jonathan. Amazon has shown that you can do great with that because they have The Big Sick, right? Which is a magnificent movie. They gave it a full regular theatrical run. And then when it's done its run and gets all this acclaim, you know where the only place you can find it after it's done its theatrical run? Amazon. Amazon Prime's the only place you can get it. You can't get it on Netflix, you can't get it anywhere else. And they put it out in theaters. It gets a bunch of acclaim. It gets recognition. It gets a full marketing campaign. Everybody knows about it. And then it goes exclusively on Amazon Prime after its theatrical run. Why Netflix doesn't do that is completely beyond me. It's completely beyond me. I don't get why they don't do it. It's to me, it's quite frankly stupid. And I love Netflix. I love Netflix. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting at Netflix in the next couple of weeks. So I love Netflix. But that being said, that's stupid. That's dumb. You know? If you got a movie you believe in, Netflix, give it a theatrical release. Put it in theaters. Give it its 90-day theatrical window. And then the only place people can find that movie after that is on Netflix. I don't know why they don't do it. So you and me both, Jonathan, you and me both can just sit here together and scratch our heads about it. I just think it's a big missed opportunity for Netflix. I really do. Dimsum05 writes, I'm telling you, man, Drafthouse is awesome. It was good. I'm telling you, I had a good time at it. I did. I really, really did. It's a very unique movie theater going experience for those of you who've not done it. Again, though, I would say that if I had a choice to go to an iPick theater tonight or that Alamo Drafthouse in downtown LA, I probably pick iPick. I probably go to the iPick. I just found it to be a nicer experience. But that is not to take away that Alamo Drafthouse experience in Los Angeles was really good. It was really, really good. And I encourage anybody who lives in the LA area, go check it out. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. And one of the things they do that I wish more movie theaters would do is get serious about telling people to shut up and not use their phones during the movie. Because, you know, AMC, and I love AMC, but AMC does this little message, please remember, no talking or texting during the movie. Okay, that's nice. You know what they did with at Alamo Drafthouse? Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I think it's Julie Tapley is the girl's name. I think it's Julie Tapley. Let me just double check that. It's the girl who is Julie Depley. Sorry. So Julie Depley, the girl who was with him in the Sunrise, before Sunrise, before Sunset, blah, all those films. So what they did at Alamo Drafthouse was just before the movie started, the picture comes up and it's Julie Depley and it's Ethan Hawke from the Sunrise Sunset series on a balcony doing a scene, right? And then all of a sudden, Julie Depley just looks at the camera and goes, "What the bleep?" So he goes, "Some mother bleepers got their phone out during the scene. Listen, you mother beep," and lots of beeping. She's just swearing and cursing. "Don't be such an ass beep," and blah, blah, blah. "Put your bleeping phone away," and blah, just ripping and ripping and ripping. And then it's like, use your phone, get kicked out. And I'm like, yes, that's something Alamo Drafthouse does that I wish more theaters would start doing. Get deadly serious about telling people, if you take your phone out during this movie, you're the village asshole. And if we're encouraging everybody, everybody, and they do this. Hey, everybody in the theater, if you see somebody using a phone or keeps talking during the movie, on your menu order, when we come and get your menu order right, people behind us keeps using their phone, we'll come and throw them out. They encourage people to narc on each other in the theater. And you know what? In the movie theater, I'm all for it. And I wish more movie theaters would get deadly serious about that. Hey, remember guys, please don't use your phone during the movie. F you! Put your effing phone away! Like, that's the approach I wish more theaters would take. And I really did appreciate that about the Alamo Drafthouse. Probably more than anything else there, I really appreciated that. Okay. David Crabtree writes, Adam Brody almost playing The Flash came up the other day, and I didn't even realize that was him playing the superhero version of Freddy in Shazam. Yeah, because he looks nothing like he does in Ready or Not, because he's got none of the facial hair there, right? That was really fun to see. Actually, there are a couple of people who become parts of the Shazam family near the end there that gets a lot of people very excited. Including, what's the girl's name? Megan Good? Who plays the Marvel family member who is the little girl, and I think that's Megan Good. How adorable is she, both as a little girl and as a grown-up? It's great. But yeah, that's him. That's him. And by the way, David, since you're bringing up Adam Brody, let me just throw in one more recommendation here, just to piggyback on what Dave's saying. Do go check out that movie, Ready or Not. It's this low-budget, little indie horror film. So much fun. So much fun. Not best movie of the year material or anything like that, but just a good, fun movie. And Adam Brody is great in it. Go check that out. It's a good observation, David. Thanks for bringing that up, man. All right, Dimsum05 writes, John, I don't like the drift. Robert, what? Yeah. Okay, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift is an abomination of a movie. It's awful. I don't care. That movie sucks. It's all subjective. If you love it, that's great. But I think that movie just sucks. Like, not just not good. That movie sucks. But I feel like I'm breaking Robert's heart a little bit every time he and I talk about it, because he really likes Tokyo Drift. He likes Tokyo Drift a lot, which is great, but I just really hate it. I think it's just terrible. And yeah, I just feel like I'm breaking Robert. I feel like Robert gets a little bit broken whenever I say I think Tokyo Drift sucks. Anyway, Dalton Burdett writes, I work at a movie theater, and sometimes if you do good work, you can take home a poster or two as a gift. Nice. Guess who grabbed 2 posters for New Mutants with an April 18th release date on them? Dude, hold on to those. Because that could become worth something. Like, that's limited. That's going to be a collector's item, regardless of how good or bad that movie is. That's kind of like, not as viable, but it's kind of like when the Return of the Jedi posters came out that said Revenge of the Jedi, and then they changed the title. And now, if you've got one of those original print posters, hang on to that, Dalton. I remember when I was working with AMC, that was a great little bonus, is that they were constantly having to throw out posters and standees, and I always had whatever I wanted. They would just take me into their stock rooms, like, here's all these standees we can't have out anymore, and all the posters. If you want some of them, take them. Just go, take them. And we got to take them. God, I wish I could still do that. I wish I could still go to AMC and say, hey, could I have some posters? So that I could just give them away to you guys. Oh, wouldn't that be great? That's a nice fringe benefit, Dalton. I'm glad you're able to do that. But hold on to that poster, man. Keep that thing. I would roll that thing up, put it in a tube, seal it up, and just hold on to that for a while. Let's see what happens with that movie. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, I generally agree with you about most Netflix movies not being very good, but in the last month I've seen trailers to Netflix movies that look really good. Those movies are The Laundromat, Dolomite Is My Name, The King, The Irishman, and Marriage Story. Do you think Netflix is finally starting to up their movies, or do you think it's too early to call? It's way too early to call. I don't care. I've seen lots of terrible Netflix movies that looked really good. I've seen lots of awful Netflix original movies that looked like they would be really good. Trailers don't... I mean, look, yeah, the trailer for... First of all, I don't even think the trailer for The Irishman is that good. But it's Martin Scorsese, so obviously I have some enthusiasm about it. The King, yeah, the trailer looks good. Dolomite Is My Name, the trailer looks good. But all the Transformers trailers look good too. Look, I'm not saying these movies won't be good. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we can all sit here and agree that a trailer looks good or looks bad, but that doesn't actually speak to whether the movie is good or bad. We've all seen tons of bad trailers to good movies and great trailers to terrible movies. So until, Jonathan, these movies start coming out, and they start putting together a little bit of a winning streak, no, I think it's too early to call. That being said, I will also say this. The other day, I watched I Am Mother, and I liked it. I liked I Am Mother. And then about a month or two ago, I watched Always Be My Maybe. So in the last couple of months, I've seen 2 Netflix original films that I actually liked. I also saw a bunch that were crap, but I've seen a couple in the last few months that I liked. Will Laundromat, Dolomite, The King, Irishman, Marriage Story, will these things fall in that line? Or will they fall on This Is How It Ends kind of line? Which looked awesome. With Forrest Whitaker, that movie looked awesome. Cloverfield, that looked like it was going to be awesome. That Cloverfield original movie they put directly to Netflix. It looked incredible. It looked fantastic. Awful. Just awful. So, while you and I can completely agree, Jonathan, that these look like they can be good, we're far away. That's a long ways off from saying they are good. I think it's too early to call. Let's see these movies come out and let's see how they are. And then we can start saying, hey, they're starting to turn it around. Or we can just go, oh my God, they're still doing crap. I mean, but we got to at least see these movies come out. Let's wait until then before we start passing any judgments. All right. Striker X Worm writes, hope you are well. I am. Thank you very much. Do you like Angel Has Fallen? Never did see it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really have any plans on seeing it. I liked Olympus Has Fallen, but I thought the second one, London Has Fallen, was absolute garbage. So I had no interest in seeing this. Now, that being said, I've had a couple of people writing in to say that they actually did see it and that they liked it. So, and I've got a soft spot in my heart for Gerard Butler. I like Gerard Butler. I always have. By the way, his little comedy, what was it called? The Ugly Truth. The Ugly Truth. Everybody hates that movie. I think it's effing awesome. I love The Ugly Truth. So I've got a soft spot in my heart for Gerard Butler. If I have more people tell me, maybe I'll go check it out. But I hated the second one so much. And I didn't think the trailers for this one looked all that good. So I decided I was going to take a pass on it. But I might have to change my mind. We'll wait and see. All right, Casinema Reviews writes, what's your favorite line from Mr. Nobody from Doom Patrol? Mine is, I'm powerful enough to control this entire streaming service if I want to. They got very meta in the show. You know what? I don't know. It's been a few months now since I've watched Doom Patrol. All I know, I loved Alan Tudyk's Mr. Nobody as a villain. I can't really remember, though, off the top of my head, what my favorite line of his would be. Because I only watched the show once, which is... Even my favorite shows, most of the time I only watch them once. There are very, very few exceptions. Parks and Rec, The Office, things like that. Seinfeld. Normally just little half-hour comedies I can rewatch, but most of my favorite shows I don't even watch twice. That was certainly a great line. This one, during one of the last episodes where he's speaking, he very much breaks fourth wall. I can control this whole streaming service, which was just awesome. I do love that line, but I can't think of any others off the top of my head because cinema. But that's a good one. All right. Dangerous Lee writes, "Hey, John, on Tuesday, as you were telling us your sob story, I received word that my childhood buddy who I hadn't spoken to in a couple of years had died also. I was right here sobbing with you. Yeah, man, it was a rough day. That was a rough day for a couple of reasons. One, I found out a friend of mine had died. That's rough for all of us. It is. But the thing that compounded it was the fact that this was a good buddy of mine who I had fallen so out of touch with that he had died a year ago. And I didn't even know. So all in one day, I'm kind of dealing with, first of all, finding out about the loss. And that broke my heart. But then realizing that I had allowed, this is a testament to my failure, I had allowed to get so out of touch with him, so out of touch with even our mutual friends for so many years that he passed away and I didn't even know about it for a full year. And it was just when he randomly crossed my mind. I said, I'm going to hop on Google and check out his social media, and then seeing headlines that he had died a year before. So I'm sitting here trying to comprehend and wrestle with, and look, I'll call what it is, my failure as a guy who was his friend to do anything to stay in touch with him, so much so that I didn't even know till a year later. That was hard. Because then you're not just wrestling with the loss of your friend. I was wrestling with my failure as a friend and how myopic I made my life, that I didn't even know that a friend of mine had died. And I was wrestling with that, wrestling with my own failure, wrestling with loss, wrestling with all that kind of stuff. And it sucks. And that's why I told everybody, I said, look, guys, learn from my failure and my mistakes here. Like once a year, just reach out and touch base with people who have been important to you. And I took my own advice. I put together an email. I sent it out to about 20, 25 people just to tell them, hey, listen, you're somebody who's been important to me at one point or another. You're somebody who's been a positive influence in my life. And I just wanted to write to you and tell you that. And you know what? I haven't had a chance to write back again, but I've had like almost 20 of them write back already. And a lot of them who I've been out of touch with for a long time, because I've moved around and I'm now living in the United States, so I've lost a lot of touch with a lot of the people back home. But it was a good thing to do, and I encourage everybody to do that so they don't have to do the same idiotic mistakes that I made. But I'm sorry to hear about that, Dangerously. It always sucks to find that stuff out, and so my condolences to you, buddy. Thanks for sharing your experience. I appreciate that. All right, Johnny Wiener writes, Part 1. It's a whiner. Okay, whiner. Johnny Whiner. Okay, sorry, going behind your word on not going to Spider-Man re-release, but I'm weak. I'll watch anything Spider-Man related, including new 7-minute scene. PS 7 is my favorite number. Part 2. So I saw it last night and I am so happy. Most of them were scenes that were in the trailers and new ones throughout the film, but those scenes were amazing to me. And here's the thing that what Johnny's talking about is the other day on the show, we talked about this re-release, which I hate the fact that we're using that as a word, re-release of Spider-Man Far From Home. And I'm encouraging everybody, look, unless you were kind of wanting to go see Spider-Man Far From Home again anyway, which is totally fine, don't support these studios in doing these re-releases when the movies are still in theaters with extra footage that they chose not to show you earlier, just as a way to get more of your money. Don't support it. Don't encourage it. If you were planning on seeing Spider-Man Far From Home again anyway, that's a different thing. Then go see it again. Go by all means. But I encourage people don't to do that. But you've got to do you, Johnny. If the idea of 7 extra minutes is exciting to you and you can't wait for it to come out in home video in a couple of weeks, then you do you. If you're excited about it, follow what you're excited about, go and see it and support it. I encourage that. I do. I think most of us should teach these studios a lesson, stay away from it. but it's important to be true to yourself. If you like the sounds of it and you were excited to see it and you want to go see it, then you do you, Johnny, and you apologize to no one, let alone me. You apologize to no one for going through and supporting something you're excited about. Just because I'm not doesn't mean you shouldn't be. And if that was big to you, then you go do it. And I hope you had a damn good time as you did it, Johnny. Thanks for sharing your experience, man. All right. Jared Vester writes, okay, John, what would happen first? Spider-Man back in the MCU or recast Ryan Reynolds if he won't do a PG-13 Deadpool, hypothetically speaking? Hypothetically speaking, I think a recast Ryan Reynolds. But again, there's a lot of hypotheticals in there. Number one, it's assuming they're going to do a PG-13, which they probably are. And then it's assuming that Ryan Reynolds wouldn't want to do a PG-13, which I think he would. I don't think he likes the idea of his Deadpool being PG-13, but I think he would do it. I don't think he would refuse doing it on that basis. So, it looks more and more like this whole Spider-Man MCU thing is not going well. So that's probably, so I'd say the thing that happens first is a recast Ryan Reynolds, but I don't think, just for the record, I don't think either are going to happen, but there you go. All right. Ethan's Tech World writes, hey, Rob, you are brilliant as the commish, the nuke. I don't know what that means, Ethan, and obviously Rob's not here right now, but maybe he would know what that means. Do you guys know what that means? I don't know what that means. Johnny Weiner. See, I caught it that time. Johnny Weiner writes, part 3, they have charm in them that I felt they were missing in the original, that it didn't the same charm. Let me try this again. They have charm in them, talking about the Spider-Man extra 7 minutes, in them that I felt they were missing in the original, that it didn't the same charm like Homecoming. I think what you're saying here, Johnny, is that the missing minutes from the original release made the movie to you feel like it lacked some of the natural charm that Homecoming had to it. I will agree that I don't find Far From Home as good as Homecoming. I really like Far From Home. Don't get me wrong. I like Far From Home very much. I don't think it's as good as Homecoming, though. And I think part of that is, you're right. I think Homecoming had more charm to it. I think it absolutely had more charm to it. And maybe those 7 extra minutes add a little bit more of that charm back into it. But then again, for me, the problem was raised, well, then why didn't you have that in the original cut of the movie? If those extra 7 minutes add more of the heart and charm to the story, why didn't you put that in the original cut of the movie? And why are you double dipping now by saying, now come see the real version of the movie? That bothers me. So you bringing that up, Johnny, while you should do you, to me, it raises more questions. Well, if it really does do that, then why didn't you put that out when the rest of us paid to go see the movie already? That raises that question for me. But regardless of all that, you did go see it, and I'm glad you had a good time at it, man. That's the important thing. All right. John Likes Things writes, that red saber looks a lot like Rey's staff she used to carry. Maybe she or someone else got a hold of a red saber and redesigned it to fit her style. I'll tell you what. Well, first of all, her staff never looked like it had double butterfly hinges on it. So there's that. But I have always thought that staff is more than just a staff. I have always believed that there's more to that staff than even she thinks. Now, I don't know that. That's no insider information. That's just me as a fan speculating. But I've always thought there's more to that staff than meets the eye. And I won't be surprised at all if we get into this movie and there's some extra little trick to that staff. I'm not necessarily saying it's a lightsaber, but maybe it is. I don't know. I just think there happens to be more to that staff. I think there's more to that stuff. We'll have to wait and see, John Likes. All right. Johnny Weiner then writes again. Part 4. It doesn't change anything different about the movie. Talking about Spider-Man again. It doesn't change anything different about the movie, but I enjoy the movie more with the extras as before seeing the film a couple of times made me kind of okay, but it's something missing. So I'm glad I saw it. Sorry, John. Again, you don't apologize to anybody for going to a movie you wanted to see, to see extra footage that you wanted to see, and you spent your time and your money, not other people's time and money, your time and your money to go see it. You apologize to nobody for that. And that's great. I mean, I'm really glad that you saw that and it was a good experience for you. And that's all you can ask for. To me, again, though, it raises a question about then why not have that in the original cut? And why just put out a new cut just while it's still in its theatrical run now to try to double dip on fans? Either way, to me, it makes Sony look bad. Because either you're just throwing in useless things to try to double dip on our money, or you're putting in necessary things that raises the question, why didn't you put that in there before? Because you just wanted to double dip on our money. Either way, the answer is a bad answer. But again, that does not take away, Johnny, that it looked exciting to you. It was important to you. You were passionate about seeing it, so you went out to see it, and that's all that counts, and you had a good time, and that ultimately is the most important thing, Johnny. So I'm glad you did, and again, apologize to nobody for that, the least of all me. All right, glad you enjoyed it, Johnny. All right, let's see. Curtis Lopez writes, how was the farewell? Spoke about it a little bit earlier. Fantastic. Absolutely. Like this is what filmmaking is. It's just beautiful. Just a camera, actors, and telling a great story. And that's what they did, with wonderful characters, heartfelt moments, moments of laughing, moments of crying. It had all the things we relate to. It's just so good. It really is. It's a joy of a movie to watch, even though a lot of people in the theater were going to be crying as they're watching it. But yeah, absolutely. Benny95 writes, The Dark Crystal just came out on Netflix. I know, and I'm not allowed to watch it yet. Not allowed to watch it yet. And it reminded me again last night, my wife Ann has still never seen the original Dark Crystal. So we have to watch that first so we can start watching the new series. Unfortunately, we can't watch it tonight because tonight we're going to the John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl. So I can't do it tonight. Maybe tomorrow, but I'm going to be watching some UFC. Maybe tomorrow Ann and I can watch the original Dark Crystal, and then I can get her out. Then I can get her to sit down and watch the new Dark Crystal with me. But I'm drooling to watch it, dude. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, Disney Plus doesn't launch in Ireland till 2020. I'm so jealous. Hope you at least enjoy it, John. So many good original shows and not just Marvel. It's true. But remember this too. There's a lot of stuff that's not launching when it launches. Like, yeah, Mandalorian and The Lady and the Tramp live action remake. Those will be on Disney Plus at launch, and a lot of catalog stuff. But the chances are, Angry, that a lot of the original shows that we're talking about probably won't even launch until Disney Plus launches in Ireland. So, yeah, you're going to be behind on The Mandalorian. And that sucks. But a lot of these big original shows, a lot of people got to remember, all these big shows that they're talking about, they don't launch when Disney Plus launches. They're only launching with a couple of original things, and over the next couple of years are going to be, all these shows they're talking about will be added. And hopefully, by the time they come out, the majority of these ones, particularly the Marvel stuff, the Cassian Andor show, all that kind of stuff, hopefully, by the time they come out, it'll already be up and running in Ireland, or wherever it is the rest of you guys live. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, Ben Rayner writes, how many of MCU Phase 1 movies does Paramount have a piece of? At this point, I don't know if any anymore. I don't know if any anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, Iron Man possibly. Hulk possibly. It's a good question. It's one I haven't really thought about much. If they do, clearly they don't have a big grip on them. Or maybe rights have lapsed at this point. But that's a good question, man. I quite frankly don't know. That would be interesting to look up. If you guys know the answer to that, jump into the comment section and leave a comment. Maybe even leave a link or two below so we can go see that information. It's a good question, Ben. All right. Joe Hill writes, one of two. Hey, John. I wanted to contribute to the gushing the last few days of how thankful I am for your show. The way you handle disagreements is classy, and the way you handle jackassery is savage. I'm curious, do you fancy yourself a poker player? Oh my God, yes. Do you fancy yourself a poker player? I moved to Texas 4 months ago, and I admit it's stolen a portion of my time from my other passions, which is obviously movies. Yes, I am an avid poker player. I love playing poker. Now, I don't play as much today as I did, say, a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, I was playing all the time. Now, I play... Well, first of all, we have home games. So about once or twice a month, we'll have a home game here. A bunch of our friends will come over and we'll just play a home game of poker here. Then every couple of months, I'll go to a local Los Angeles casino, whether it's Commerce Casino or the Bicycle Casino, which is a big one and a good one. Hustler Casino, I'll go there once in a while, play in a tournament and things like that. But mostly... I only really play poker now when I go to Vegas. Again, we have our home games. Every couple of months, I'll go and play at when I've got a free evening. Maybe I'll go and play for a while at one of the LA casinos. But most of the time, I just play when I go to Vegas. And when I play in Vegas, I will literally go and sit down at the poker table and literally be there for like 16 to 18 hours, like straight. I'll play. I play in the World Series of Poker every year. I went and played in it this year. Had some success, had some failure, but overall it was a successful World Series this year. Yeah. So it was, I do consider myself a poker player. It doesn't take away from my movie time, though. And I don't play it like 5 times a week. Like it used to before. I was playing poker at least maybe twice a week. A couple of years ago, I was playing like twice a week. But I just don't have time for that anymore, unfortunately. I'm just far, far too busy, so I only get to play every couple of months. But yes, I do consider myself a big poker fan. I love playing poker. As a matter of fact, I'll bring up, what's the name of that? Pluto. I have the Pluto app that has a bunch of free television stations, and one of them is the World Poker Tour. At least twice a week, I just got World Poker Tour tournaments on my TV, just watching it as I eat or whatever. So yeah, I love me playing some poker. Anyway, Khan writes, so excited for anything Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know what? There was a period of time when I didn't even want an Obi-Wan Kenobi because I'm so sick and tired of Star Wars stories going backwards. I'm like, move forward. Move forward. Tell us stories about characters we don't know in places we haven't been and stories we haven't heard already. But over time, a lot of the viewers convinced me about the potential of an Obi-Wan thing. It said, hey, listen, with an Obi-Wan thing, yes, we know Obi-Wan, but you could tell a lot of stories that aren't connected to everything else. And you could tell, and then it was you guys, the viewers, who got me on board with getting excited about the potential for an Obi-Wan. So there you go. All right. Henry Stevens writes, John, I see the Joker film like this. We have had many superhero movies. Now we have the first supervillain movie. Can't wait. I mean, look, yeah, that's one we were looking at. Some people say, well, we had Venom, but you know, he was a hero. You can say we had Maleficent, but she was a hero. You could say this, that, and the other thing. But really, this is the first one that really will be the villain. As long as they don't pull a Maleficent. Now, this is what pissed me off about the first Maleficent movie, is that she's supposed to be this mistress of evil, but she was really just an misunderstood good person. And she saves the day like she was the hero. One of my biggest fears about this Joker movie is at the end of the day, he's just a misunderstood hero. If they pull that BS, I'm going to be pissed. It's like, no, this is the Joker. Maybe make him sympathetic at the beginning. Like, hey, this is a guy who was a good guy who just had one bad day and it broke him. And he became the Joker. But once he's the Joker, once he turns in the Joker, make him the Joker. Make him a homicidal maniac. You know, don't turn him into a misunderstood hero like Maleficent did. Make him a bad guy. That's my one big fear, man. All right. Timbula the Spider Monkey writes, do you think Dolomite Is My Name will be one of the rare great Netflix films? I love Rudy Ray Moore, and this movie looks awesome. Put your weight on it. I don't know. It's too early to say. It's too early to say. The trailer looks great. The trailer looks great. If the movie's great, why didn't it get a theatrical release? Why didn't another studio pick it up? Why isn't getting a real movie release? Now, maybe it's great, but maybe studios didn't think they should take a chance on Eddie Murphy at this point. And if that's the case, then the movie could still very well be awesome. So, I mean, I don't know. All I know, Timbula, is that over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of Netflix original movies that I have gotten excited about, only then to watch and be very let down by them. Dolomite looks like it could be great, but there have been a lot that look like they could be great and turn out to be garbage. So I refuse to get too excited about it yet. I refuse to get too excited about it until I see it. Then hopefully it'll be one of the great ones. Fingers crossed. All right. Matthew Grant writes, just saw Anchorman for the first time. Oh my God, I'm jealous that you got to watch it for the first time. Best part is when he gets home and has a talk with his dog, Baxter. Oh, Baxter, you are so wise. What? You ate an entire wheel of cheese? I'm not even mad. That's incredible. Anyway, I just might be one of those people who do the same. I'm serious, dude. That Anchorman, the only other movie that I think beats out Anchorman for my favorite Will Ferrell movie is probably Step Brothers. Step Brothers is comedy gold, but Anchorman is so freaking good. Between Sex Panther and News Team Assemble and Baxter and kill Baxter, it's genius. If any of you are like Matthew and had not seen Anchorman yet, what the hell are you doing? Cancel your plans for the rest of the day. Sit down and watch Anchorman. You don't have to watch Anchorman 2, which is also pretty good, but you got to at least watch the first Anchorman. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, I had serious doubts about Awkwafina as Skeksis, but this might be the role she was born to play. Does Awkwafina do one of the voice of the Skeksis? I didn't know. Maybe I did know that at one point, and I don't remember. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. Yeah, it's Awkwafina in there. Mark Hamill's in there, too. I haven't seen any of the episodes yet. Helena Bonham Carter, Charlie Kondo, Harris Dixon's in it. Taron Egerton, Natalie Dormer. I love Natalie Dormer. Obviously, Mark Hamill, Lena Headey. I mean, Jason Isaac. Oh, I didn't even know Jason Isaac does one of the voice. Ooh, Jason Isaac's the voice of the Emperor. Okay, that's pretty cool. Eddie Izzard's a voice. Theo James is a voice. Toby Jones, Keegan-Michael Key. Holy crap, Simon Pegg, Andy Samberg, Mark Strong, Anna Taylor-Joy, Alicia Vikander, Sigourney Weaver, Benedict. What? This might be the greatest voice cast in the history of cinema. This very well could be the greatest voice cast in the history of cinema. Anyway, that's fun. That's fun. I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. All right. Denmark. By the way, Awkwafina also very, very good. Maybe not Oscar worthy, but very, very good in The Farewell. You got to see her in that. Denmark 95 writes, my top 5 JB movies. Oh, James Bond movies. Number 5, Dr. No. Number 4, Goldfinger. Number 3, Goldeneye. Number 2, Casino Royale. And by a mile, number 1, From Russia with Love. That's one that doesn't get a lot of love, actually. That's a good one. That's a good one. For me, it's like I said, I talked about this yesterday. For me, it's still Casino Royale. It was very classic Bond, yet very new Bond, all at the same time. But I'm glad to see From Russia with Love getting a little bit of love in there, Denmark. I'm glad you put that in. Obviously, you got Goldeneye on the list. Goldfinger's a good one. Dr. No, I don't think it's on a ton of people's list. I like to see that one on there. But yeah, for me, it's still Casino Royale. Still Casino Royale for me, but I like your list, dude. All right. Ben Rayner writes, John and Rob and Aaron and Chris, thank you guys for all you do for us. You're so fun to watch, and I love your chemistry. Keep being the filthy. Well, thank you so much for that, Ben. And yeah, one of these days, I think maybe once a month, we should do one where it's like all 4 of us here at the same time. I don't know how I'd pull that off. Because I don't have a lot of room in here. It's a little tight just having 3 of us. But I wonder if maybe like once a month I should do one of our shows should be like all 4 of us in here. Like me, Rob, Chris, and Aaron all at the same time. That would be fun. I got to think about that. All right, J Meister 25 writes, Do the Star Wars prequels work as movies and stories on their own without ancillary material supporting it, like books and TV shows? I'm going to say no. Well, I mean, you're asking the wrong guy, because I don't think the prequels work at all. So you're asking the wrong guy, because I think the prequels are terrible, even with all the supporting material. That being said, are they legitimate beginning, middle, end stories that are standalone movies? Yeah, I think they are. I don't think they're good. But I do believe they stand on their own. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I do believe they stand on their own. I don't think they're good, but I think they stand on their own. I think it's a little unfair to say that they don't stand on their own without supporting material, because honestly, I've rejected all the supporting material around those movies, and I still think they stand on their own as movies. Bad movies, but standing on their own for what they are. So yeah, that's just my thought on that, Jay Meister. You might find a lot of people agree with you on that, buddy, so who knows. All right, Brandon Blake writes, "Hello there, Obi-Wan voice. I commute 2.5 hours daily, and you and Rob all help make it more tolerable. What you do has impact. Thank you." Oh, thanks for sharing that, Brandon, and thanks for having us along for your drive. That sounds horrible, by the way. An hour and 15 minutes to work and an hour and 15 minutes home. That does not sound like a lot of fun. I hate commuting. I hate it, which is part of the reason why my commute is rolling out of bed and walking 35 feet into my studio. That's my commute. And one of the reasons we moved into Burbank was so that my wife wouldn't have to commute. I remember when my wife worked for the Congresswoman in Anaheim. Early in our relationship, my wife was the political rep for the Congresswoman in Orange County, and her commute was like an hour and a half each way. And so when we decided that she should take this job with Hasbro, and that's right around the time that we were getting a new studio for AMC in that converted storage closet at the AMC Burbank 16, we both said, you know what? Burbank is a ridiculously expensive place to live. It is a ridiculously expensive place to live. We don't own a house. I can't afford to own a house where we live, so we don't own a house. But we thought quality of life has to be worth something. And commuting, being in your car 3 hours a day, affects quality of life. So we said we're going to live in Burbank. It's going to cost us, but you know, I can't have my wife spending 13 hours of her week in the car. So I admire people who are able to make that type of commute, man. You've got to have some testicular fortitude, brother. You got to have some serious testicular fortitude to be able to do that. My hat's off to you, sir. I salute you, because that takes some hardcore dedication and some stamina to make that commute every day, dude. So the fact that you allow us to come along for the ride with you, that's an honor. Thank you so much, and thanks for sending that in and let us know, dude. And hang tough in that brutal commute, my friend. All right. Ben Ellman writes, "I had 5 hours between classes yesterday, so I watched Empire, and then later in the day watched Return of the Jedi. I love both those movies so much." That's what we call, Ben, a day well spent. That's what we call a day well spent. And it reminds me that, you know, a lot of people disagree, and that's fine. Return of the Jedi is still the best Star Wars movie to me. Like, all three of the original trilogy are 11 out of 10. But Jedi, to me, is just a little bit on top. The Return of the Jedi is actually my all-time favorite Star Wars movie. Followed by A New Hope, followed by Empire Strikes Back. They're all like super tight, though. All like they're not like 1-1-1. They're like three of them totally packed just right on top of each other. And then way down here, you got The Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then Solo, then The Last Jedi. And then way down on the floor, you've got the prequels. But yeah, Return is mine, but that is a day well spent, Ben. That sounds like a good day. I wish I could do that today. All right, Dylan Wolf writes, "Hey, John and crew. After Obi-Wan, would you be interested in a Qui-Gon series?" No. Featuring Dooku and Sifo Dyas, or is he better left a mystery maybe? Not interested in the least. at all. Don't get me wrong. I love Qui-Gon Jinn. I love the way he was played by Liam Neeson. I really do. But I am sick and tired of going backwards stories, especially if you're going to tell backwards stories and just start throwing in all these other characters. We know what happens to Sifo Dyas. We know what happens to Dooku. I don't want more of that. Move stories forward, or at the very minimum, put us in places we've never been with people we have never met and stories we haven't heard already. That's what I want. That's what I want. So, no, I got to tell you, as much as I like Qui-Gon Jinn, and I do, I like Qui-Gon Jinn very much, but I have zero interest in a Qui-Gon series, to be honest with you. But that's just me. You'll probably find, though, Dylan, a lot of people who agree with you. You will probably find a lot of people who will agree with you, because, seriously, Qui-Gon, as much as I don't like the prequels, Qui-Gon's great. Qui-Gon's a great character. And so I could totally understand why you would feel you'd like to see it. I could totally understand why a lot of people would like to see it. For me and my personal sensibilities, I just want to see news stories, and something like that doesn't really jump out at me. But anyway, that's just me, though. I'm sure, like I said, I think you'll find a lot of people who agree with you, Dylan, as opposed to me. All right, let's move on here. Julianne S. writes, do you think there's a real chance that episode 9 ends very open-ended, i.e. Kylo lives, Rey goes and stays dark, etc., or will they wrap it up with a nice, neat bow? I've got a feeling they're going to wrap it up with a nice, neat bow. I really do. I think they're going to wrap it all up. I can't say that for sure, but I think they're going to wrap it up. And because one of the things they've said, like at D23, they made a big deal out of talking about how this is the finale of the saga. The saga comes to an end. They're making a very big deal about that, for right or wrong. As such, I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect what we're going to see is them wrapping it up in as much as Return of the Jedi wrapped up. Like, the Return of the Jedi wrapped it all up, but it still had open-ended questions. How does the rebellion now form the new government? What happens to all those remnants? I mean, there's still a lot of Empire out there. What happens to the remnants of the Empire? How do all these work? I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but it was, in as much as you could, it wrapped the story up. So I believe there will be some loose ends, because you never know what happens tomorrow. But I think it'll wrap things up the way they wrap things up in Return of the Jedi. So that's what I'm guessing. Who knows for sure? We'll find out in 3.5 months. But for now, I'm thinking they're just going to wrap things up. All right. Brennan M. writes, and that's a big super chat, Brennan. Thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level. I really appreciate that, man. Brennan M. writes, hey, I showed my mom your show 6 months ago when she started chemo. It was a perfect way for her to spend sessions. She just finished her last session this week. That's so good to hear, man. She just finished her last session this week. You were on this journey with us. Fuck you. I'm not going to get emotional. No, I'm not going to do it. Nope, not going to get emotional. I've done enough of that this week. Thank you, man. Seriously, that is the most awesome thing anybody could tell us. Not just me, but anybody who does this crap that I do. Anybody who does this, daily YouTubing stuff and blah blah. Any of us. That is like the highest compliment. I think, and the best thing that I can hear. That is awesome to hear. That is, I am honored. I am honored that you would say that, and I am honored that, and I'm sure if Rob and Aaron or Chris were here with me, we would all say the same thing. Totally honored that we got to be there with you in spirit with that. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Brennan, and that's awesome that your mom is wrapping up the chemo stuff. That is great. That is great. That's fabulous. It reminds me, Brennan, actually, of a story that wasn't as happy. And I still remember the first time I got this. we were doing AMC Movie News at the time. And I remember I got this. I keep this one. I will always keep this email that I got. I will always have it. It will never be far from me. And it reminds me all the time of not just me as the host of this show, guys, but to you guys as well. Those of you who are part of this community, adding your thoughts in the comments section, being a part of the live chat and all this kind of stuff. You're part of this too. I keep these letters as a reminder of we all have the power to positively influence and impact somebody's day. It can be something funny you say in the live chat. It could be an insight I give. It could be a stupid mistake I make. It could be a compliment you pay somebody else in the comment section, but we all have the power to positively influence somebody's day. And Brendan, if you'll allow me here, I'll tell the story. Some of you have heard this story before already, but I got this letter and I brought it in. It just broke me. And I brought it in the next day at our daily staff meeting when I was still running AMC. And we had this big board table and, had 15 of us around the table, and I read the letter to everybody. And then after I read it to everybody, I forwarded it to everybody. And it was this story of this guy. He was a regular viewer. He still is. And basically, the long and the short of it was this. He had a nephew who was terminally ill. And the nephew loved superhero movies. And so this guy was telling me the story about how every day they would watch our show. And they loved it. The uncles, the aunts, the mom and dad, the kid, they would watch these things together. And it was a bonding experience for them and blah, 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 blah. And being a terminal condition, the guy's nephew passed away. He may be watching this show right now, the uncle. And he wrote this message to me, this email to me after his nephew had passed away, just to say that we got to be a part of that. And we were there and we gave them, the family, some lasting memories and blah, 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 blah. Which is why I always want to remind myself, you guys who are part of this community, and my colleagues who do other YouTube channels and podcasts that, we forget, like we sit behind a microphone in a room and just feel sometimes like we're just speaking out into the ether. But the reality is we all have the ability and the opportunity to positively impact somebody's day. Maybe even in ways we don't know. So, when you say something insightful or something kind or something funny or something informational, something interesting in a live chat or in a comment section or in something like that, you'll never know how much that might be adding to somebody else's day, right? We just never know. I never know. And getting little messages like that from you, Brendan, is the highest honor I can possibly think of. So thank you for sharing that. It touches me deeply. Seriously, it does. F you, I'm not going to get emotional. I'm deeply moved by it. Thank you so much for sharing. That is awesome that you shared that. And that is awesome that your mom's winding up her chemo. I know that sucks, but that is awesome about that. So thank you for sharing, man. And that's great. And I'm not going to get emotional. All right. Let's see. Darklock63 writes, regarding Dave Chappelle, a Chew son of a sneeze, hint Mel Brooks. Yeah, actually, you know what? Somebody wrote that in. I covered that on our companion video yesterday. Somebody reminded me that was from Men in Tights, which I was like, wait a minute, Dave Chappelle was in Men in Tights? It's been a long time since I saw Men in Tights. A long, long time since I saw Men in Tights. Men in Tights. It's been a long time since I've seen Men in Tights. Like, I didn't even realize Dave Chappelle was in that. That is crazy. But thanks for reminding us, Darklock. I appreciate that, man. Juan Mejia writes, hey, John. Joker trailer finally made me wonder if the character Arthur Fleck is just a crazy guy who thinks he's the Joker from the comics. 60s Batmobile was spotted on the set, which helps back up my theory. I don't know. I don't know about that. It sure as hell better not be. It sure as hell better not be. I don't know. Here's the thing, one. If they do that, maybe there's a way they make it work and it's actually brilliant. But I got to tell you right now, I feel like I would be... Oh, no, that can't be true. That's not true. It can't be true. The reason we know it can't be true is because in this movie, we have, for instance, Brent Cullen is playing Thomas Wayne. So Thomas Wayne, who we know is later on becomes the father of Bruce Wayne, or it maybe is the father of Bruce Wayne in this. So as far as I can tell, that can't be the case. And Arkham is a real place in this movie. So because of all that, because we have a Thomas Wayne character, because there is an Arkham, because of all that kind of stuff, I'm going to go out on a limb, one, and say, I don't think your theory is true. Now, who knows? And by the way, Douglas Hodge is listed as playing Alfred Pennyworth. Who knows? Maybe Thomas Wayne is imaginary. Maybe Alfred Pennyworth is imaginary. Maybe Arthur Fleck goes to a psychiatric facility and he just imagines that it's called Arkham. Maybe. I've personally seen nothing that suggests that. I don't see anything that suggests that. All the signs point to it being, no, this is supposed to be the origin story about how a man goes mad and becomes the Joker. So it's an interesting theory, one. I just see too much stuff that kind of points against it, but you never know. Never know. It's at least thinking outside the box, one, and that's what we as film fans need to do sometimes. So at least you're thinking outside the box. I just don't know if I can buy into that theory right now. But we'll find out pretty quick. The movie's coming up in October. All right. The Sock writes, where are we at here? Watched Arrival, and holy shit, it's great. Don't remember why I didn't see it in theaters. I thought it looked really good. I really liked it. Another movie by Denis Villeneuve, who is directing Dune right now. Amy Adams in there. It's a very good movie. And I remember I took a lot of crap from people because I think Arrival is a very good movie. I'm all pro the Arrival, or Arrival, I should say. I am not, though, one of the people who thought it was like top 5 film of the year. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was a top 5 film of the year. I thought it was wonderful, very enjoyable, highly recommended people see it, but I thought there were other better movies. But a lot of my friends are like, screw you, Campea. This is like one of the best films of the year. This might be a top 3, maybe even the best movie of the year. I wasn't that on board with it, but I thought it was really good. And I'm glad you had a chance. It's a very good movie, man. And if you want to watch something that'll help get you excited for Dune, that's one of the movies you could start watching. All right. The Sock follows up and writes, also watched Mask of the Phantasm. Oh, that one's really good. One of the few animated superhero movies that I really like based on DC characters. And some of those shots are gorgeous. Wish all of the animated series were as good as that one. That was really great. Mask of the Phantasm is one that whenever I talk about, I'm not a big fan of Marvel or DC's animated stuff, blah, 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 blah. One of the things I've always got that I need to always denote as being one of the exceptions to that is Mask of the Phantasm, because Mask of the Phantasm is pretty damn wonderful. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, Obi-Wan was hanging in a shaft with Darth Maul at the top. You don't get to lecture anyone about You don't get to lecture anyone about the high guy. That's true. Because you had Obi-Wan desperately clinging on, and you Maul standing over him like, zhung, zhung, making sparks on the thing. So much for high ground. You're absolutely right, Loner. He had no right talking about high ground after that. Good observation. Nosferatu writes, which one is the bigger icon, Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse. Don't get me wrong. What's up, Doc? I love me some Bugs Bunny. Mickey Mouse is the bigger icon. I mean, other people may have different opinions, but I don't have much doubt about that. I think that is simply the much more recognizable figure around the world is the mouse. I love Bugs Bunny. Personally, I prefer Bugs Bunny over Mickey Mouse myself, but I do think Mickey Mouse is the more recognizable icon. That's my thought at any rate. All right, Jared Oberfeld writes, looks to me like Tim Miller was a great choice for directing Terminator 6. Really, this is Terminator 3. Because remember, this Terminator movie pretends all the other Terminator stuff after Terminator 2 Judgment Day doesn't exist. Remember that. So should really call this Terminator 3 in many ways. Anyway, he has already shown that he can direct action with Deadpool. It's true. He has shown, bar none, that he can direct action. At least he knows how to get good second unit directors who know how to do action. I mean, he's very, very good at that. And again, I am much happier with this Terminator trailer. Not the best trailer of the year, but I am much happier, Jared, with this Terminator trailer that we got today than that original with, I'm going hunting. Anyway, much better trailer. I think this one looks like it's got some potential. I'm now getting a little bit more enthusiastic about this Terminator movie. Getting a little bit more enthusiastic about it. Let's see how it turns out. Okay, KW Garrett, 83 writes, regarding episode 9, Ian McDiarmid coming on stage is a misdirect. Evil laugh was really from elderly Darth Jar Jar seeking revenge on Rey. Misa evil now. Possibility. Don't laugh. Okay, so let me pull this out here. You can look it up on Google. I don't know where it is, but in this Star Wars poster, where obviously we got the Emperor back here, right? Somebody put together, let me switch to a wider thing here. Somebody put together a meme of this image. And what they did was everything's the same, except this image up here, they changed into being Jar Jar in a dark hood with glowing yellow eyes and a big smile. I'm sure you can find it. I'm sure it's like all over the place online at this point. So I'm sure you can find that somewhere. But that's one of the funniest images I've seen in the last few days. So you should check that out. So you might be onto something, KW. I'm just saying, you might be onto something. Okay. Alton J writes, how can someone start their own production company? Start your production company. Get some money together, buy gear. I mean, it takes money, but just gather together the stuff you need and say, I'm a production company now. You'll have to raise a lot of money, but that's the big thing there, Alton. Nothing's stopping anybody from starting their own production company. You just got to get the money behind it to get the things that you need. All right. Householder Films writes, hey, John, as a furniture filmmaker, like what the hell is a furniture filmmaker? As a future filmmaker, one passion project of mine is to remake Creature from the Black Lagoon. You know what's funny about that? I remember a couple of years ago, there were some friends of mine and I, we were watching a movie and something about the Creature from the Black Lagoon came up, and there was a conversation that ensued about, could a Creature from the Black Lagoon work today? Could you do that today? I'm of the belief that I'm not so sure you can. I'm not so sure that a Creature from the Black Lagoon does work today. Possibly, maybe. I'm not totally sure. But as a future filmmaker, you're going to have to make sure you get in there with the right people. Who owns the rights to it? Who do you have to license it from? All that kind of stuff. But man, if that's a passion project of yours, don't let it go. Don't let it go. Hang in there. Get a couple of films made, and then who knows? Maybe one day you'll be doing a remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon. Let's see. Alton J writes, how did you learn poker? What is the easiest to learn? I learned poker by my buddy Sol, my friend who's like the CFO of the Fine Brothers. He's the one who taught me how to play poker. You know, very early in my days being here in LA, he was one of the first friends I made here, and he started up poker night at his place. I'm like, I've never played poker. And he's like, let me show you how to play. It is a game. What they say about poker is true. It's a game you can learn in minutes, and it'll take a lifetime to master. But it's true. You can learn the basics of poker very, very easy. It's a very simple game. But mastering it is something people who've been playing this game for 50 years still haven't done. I mean, there's so much to it, but the basic rules are really simple. Easiest suggestion, Alton, just look up. And there's many different variations of poker. The most popular one in the world, the one that they play at the World Series of Poker, is Texas Hold'em. No Limit Texas Hold'em. Hop on Google, just write how to play poker Texas Hold'em. And I'm sure you'll find many very simple video tutorials that teach you how to do it. It's actually a very simple game to play. But get into it. It's a fun game, man. I enjoy playing it a lot. EBB writes, or EBB writes, thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Eb. Your thoughts are always compelling. My question is, With all the positive responses from critics, could Ad Astra be a hit? And are you excited for this? May be one of the last Disney/Fox movies. I've been excited about Ad Astra since I first heard about it. First of all, the concept I think is great. The concept for it is wonderful. Now you move beyond that to the filmmaker is great. Now you move beyond that to the cast is fantastic. Donald Sutherland, Tommy Lee Jones, Brad Pitt. I mean, come on. I don't see anything about Ad Astra not to be excited about. So, and I don't think this is going to be one of the last Fox films. They're going to have, remember, we got Ford v Ferrari coming out. That looks like it's going to be an Oscar contender. Fingers crossed. So we'll see. But yeah, as for me, Eb, I'm with you on this. I think this movie looks terrific. I was excited before the first trailers. Now the trailers are out and I'm eating it up. It looks like it's great sci-fi mixed with a mystery in there as well. Being led by one of the great Hollywood stars today in Brad Pitt. How good was he in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? If you're not excited about Ad Astra, I don't know what to tell you. Like, seriously, if you're not excited about Ad Astra, I'm like, why not? I mean, it's all subjective. Not every movie's for everybody. So clearly there are going to be people not excited about Ad Astra. But I see nothing not to be excited about, Eb. I'm on board with this 1,000%. Now, can it be a hit? Well, that we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of great, fantastic movies that the audience don't go out to support. Booksmart. I think it's the best movie of the year. Nobody supported it. I mean, that's just an example. There are lots of great movies that people just don't support. Whether this will be a hit or not, I'm not sure, but I'm feeling pretty good that it's going to be good. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. Chris Feldman writes, words of wisdom from Roger Ebert. If one of the pleasures of moviegoing is seeing strange new things on screen, another pleasure, and probably a deeper one, is experiencing moments of recognition, times when we can say, yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly the way it would have happened. That's so true. I love Star Wars and MCU movies, but some of my favorites are things like Juno, Once, Waitress, Junebug, Garden State, Real Life, The Farewell, books, like things. Absolutely. There are so many great things about the movies, Chris. You know, a lot of us go to the movies and we look for the spectacle movies. And that's great. I love spectacle movies. The MCU and DCU movies and Star Wars and whatever. And I love spectacle. But much of the richness and greatness of movies lie in other types of movies. The movies that speak to our human experience. The movies that speak to circumstances that we may find ourselves in. Things like The Farewell, which touched me so deeply and so profoundly and so wonderfully. You know, I often talk about, Chris, and it's true, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I often tell the story about how, you know, in the days when I was doing the movie blog, and then for your consideration, and started in with AMC, when I started things up with AMC, there were many years that I thought a big part of my job was, as a film pundit, was trying to convince people to give the comic book movie genre a shot. You know? I felt like for a long time, for a number of years when I was doing this job as being a film pundit, a part of my job was trying to get people to give superhero movies a chance. Open your minds. Try superhero movies. I think you might enjoy them. They're getting better and blah, blah, blah. And then a funny thing happened. A shift occurred where now today, I actually find it a part of my job is trying to convince people to try something other than comic book movies. It's like, yeah, I get it. Endgame was awesome. Spider-Man is great. Shazam was fantastic. But you know what? There's this movie out there called Booksmart that I think you should really give a shot to. There's this movie coming out, you know, called The Lighthouse, with Robert Pattinson in it. You should really give that a shot. You know what? There's this fabulous movie, I feel like a shift happened where instead of needing to convince people to give comic book movies a try, I now feel like it's part of my responsibility as a film pundit to really encourage people, give something other than comic book movies a try, because there's great, wonderful cinema out there, Chris. And I think the way you just explained that and structured what you just said perfectly illustrates it. I really do. So I'm so glad you said that, my friend. Thanks for sharing that thought. All right. Gus Sanchez writes, is Joker going to be today's version of Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy sort of remake those two? I mean, that's the feel. That's the feel I'm getting. And, you know, when you understand that Martin Scorsese was a part of getting this whole thing together and all that kind of stuff, I've heard the filmmakers reference Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. And when you see the trailers, Gus, that's the feeling I get. So my guess, Gus, is that you're right on the money. That's my guess. Now, we won't know until we actually go in and see the damn movie, obviously. But my guess is you're absolutely right. I think we're going to get like a super villain origin story told in the vein of a Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. And if it is, that sounds damn good to me. Now, look, maybe Joker will be the best movie ever. Maybe it'll completely suck. We won't know for a while. But I think what you're sensing is what myself and a lot of other people are sensing too, Gus. I think you're onto it. All right, Ben Rayner writes, thoughts on Change Up with Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman other than Deadpool movies might be my favorite Ryan film. It's nowhere near my favorite Ryan film, but I got a kick out of the Change Up. So Change Up is a little bit like a Freaky Friday for those of you who've never seen it. Ryan Reynolds, Jason Bateman, they're best friends since childhood. And now they both have completely different lives. Ryan Reynolds is kind of the loose playboy guy. He stays single. He just likes to sleep with lots of women. He's totally free. Jason Bateman is married, has kids, has responsibilities. And they both kind of envy certain things about each other's life. And then a Freaky Friday thing happens where they wake up in each other's bodies. It's dumb, but it's got a lot of laughs in it. I really enjoy it. I have several other Ryan Reynolds films, though, that I would put well ahead of it. One would be The Proposal, which is amazing. The one he does with Sandra Bullock. That movie is fantastic. Definitely Maybe. Oh, my God. Definitely Maybe. So good. So good. What's the one? Oh, God. What's the name of the one he did where he's buried in the box? Hold a second. The one where he's buried in the box. It's his best performance ever. The one where he's buried in the box is Buried is the name. The entire movie from start to finish happens in a box buried underground with Ryan Reynolds in it with nothing but a lighter and a cell phone to give light. The entire movie happens there. It's the best performance he's ever given. So I got to go with Buried. I'd have to go with not so much Life, not so much Criminal, not Selfless, actually, not The Captive, not Mississippi Grind, not R.A.P.D., not The Croods. Safe House was actually pretty good. I like Safe House. Again, The Proposal was fantastic. Just Friends, definitely Maybe. There are a bunch of ones that I would put ahead of it. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen Just Friends, it's the one he does with Amy Smart, who is one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. She was also in Crank with Jason Statham. I got to meet Amy Smart, which was absolutely wonderful and a fabulous experience for me. So anyway, I do like Change Up, but I've got a number of other Ryan Reynolds films I would put ahead of it personally. But Change Up is a pretty fun one. All right, Alex Pitt writes, The Dark Crystal binge has begun, and I am impressed with it so far. The storytelling is great, the world is immersive, and the visuals are spectacular. Don't make me jealous, dude. I can't watch it until Anne watches the original movie. So don't taunt me, Alex. Don't taunt me. Don't be cruel. But I am so stoked to start watching this thing. I am so stoked. I mean, part of me thinks, the little devil on his shoulder, John, just go ahead and start watching it. The Netflix show, when Anne's not here, she'll never know. I mean, part of me has that little temptation, but I can't do it. I told my wife I would wait for her. We're going to watch the original movie, and then I'll watch it. Until then, I'll just have to be jealous of you, Alex. But thanks for the quick little thoughts on it so far. Austin Church writes, Hey, John, my grandfather passed back in July. My condolences. And my girlfriend's cat was diagnosed with lung cancer. That's rough. I just wanted to thank you for keeping my spirits up. You're awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. Again, it's the power of movies. It's the power of the film fan community, right? So it's always great that we can have that. And again, man, my deepest condolences for the passing of your grandfather. I'm really lucky. I still have 3 of my 4 grandparents. My mom's dad, my gramps, he died when I was still in high school. But other than that, I still have 3 of my grandparents, which is kind of remarkable, including my my Italian grandparents. I still have them with me, which is great. I got to visit them when I just went back to Canada a few weeks ago. So I'm really lucky. So deepest condolences, Austin. That sucks. But thank you for sharing that. And it's awesome that the film fan community can be here and be a part of that. Thanks, dude. All right. David Sickles writes, did you ever notice the Pulp Fiction reference in Captain America: The Winter Soldier? Nick Fury's tombstone has a line on it from the Bible. Yep. Oh, absolutely. Who didn't catch that? So what is it? The Path of the Righteous Man? Is that the one that's on the tombstone? Something like that? Anyway, it's from the reference that Jules, his character in Pulp Fiction, uses. So it's a quick little Easter egg in there, and I'm sure a lot of people noticed it. If you didn't remember that, go on back and watch that, catch that, and giggle right along with it. It's a great little Easter egg, David. So thanks for bringing that up and sharing it. All right, Cinema Survey Movie Reviews writes, 11 years really ages a guy. Use moisturizer, Obi-Wan. Well, again, you know what's funny? When I go back and watch the original Star Wars: A New Hope, Alec Guinness, because I think when I think of Alec Guinness, I think of how he looked in like Return of the Jedi, right? But when I go back and watch the original Star Wars, I'm always, for a moment, taken aback that, oh yeah, Alec Guinness looks younger in this than I remember. I don't know why, but every time I watch New Hope and Obi-Wan shows up, it's like, oh yeah, Alec Guinness looks a little bit younger here than I remember him looking in this role. And that's probably because I keep thinking of how he looked 5 or 6 or 7 years later when he did Return of the Jedi. So that always astounds me a little bit. So they'll age up Ewan a little bit. They'll age him up a little bit. And yeah, man, 11 years in the desert in a world that needs moisture farms, that'll age you up. That'll age you up. I don't think this is going to be a big deal. Carlos Santana writes, hey, John. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you so much, Carlos. I know you're a Patriots fan. I am. Do you watch any college football? Yeah, I'll watch the odd college football game. I'm fascinated by the Crimson Tide. I'm fascinated by Alabama. I mean, that you can have that with practically your whole team turning over every year. The fact that they have been as successful as they are for so long. Nick Saban is obviously some kind of evil mastermind. But, you know, Clemson is an entertaining football to watch. So, yeah, I watch a little bit of college football. I wouldn't say that I follow college football, but I keep my eyes on the rankings. And when I've got some time, I'll pop on a college football game if there's nothing else on, just because I like football so much. I watch it a little bit, but I wouldn't say I'm one of these guys who really follows the college game. That I got to admit. All right. Slim Trav writes, Harold Ramis' last directed film was Year One. Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. Because Harold Ramis directed, hold on a second. He directed just some great stuff, and he wrote some great stuff. He directed and wrote some great stuff. So yes, the last movie he did was Year One. However, he did direct an episode of The Office after that. So the last thing, maybe not the last movie, but the last thing Harold Ramis directed was an episode of The Office. And that is something we can remember. But he also did Analyze This, which I loved. I hated Analyze That, but Analyze This was brilliant. He did Bedazzled, which I love Bedazzled. Bedazzled is a massively underrated movie. He did Groundhog Day and Caddyshack and the first National Lampoon's Vacation. He directed so much. But listen, guys, if you have not seen the Brendan Fraser, Elizabeth Hurley movie Bedazzled, it's from 2000. You've got to watch it. Cocaine! It is so freaking funny. It is so funny. You got to check that out. Okay, anyway, Garrett Couch writes, what if Dark Rey is a Force vision nightmare, but Palpatine created both Rey's visions and Anakin's nightmares in the sequels, setting up both paths? Then that's what happened. Remember, guys, if you ever ask a question that starts with the words "what if," make sure you ask a question at the end of it. Okay, so what if he did this? What's the question? If Palpatine is doing a dark vision for her as he did for Anakin, setting up both paths, and what's the question? Because you set the scenario, but now you haven't set up a question. Look, that's a scenario that's possible. We've all talked about it. I mean, the number one theory out there right now is that the Dark Rey we see in that footage is a vision or a dream. That's the number one theory out there. That's what everybody kind of believes. There are other possibilities. It's a clone situation. It's a twin. The twin is one I'm buying into a little bit more and more these days. But the number one theory out there is that it is a vision. So that's what a lot of people think. So yeah, there's that. Kevin Elaniel writes, because I won't get my MCU fix again until Black Widow in May, I was going to see Spidey one last time. But with the Disney-Sony debacle, what's the point? There, I'll spend my money here instead. Well, thank you for the super chat, Kevin, and thank you for choosing to support the channel. But what's the point? The point is, if you like Spider-Man Far From Home and you wanted to see it again, who cares what's going on with Disney and Sony? Listen, let me use this as an example here. Let me use what you just said, Kevin, as a platform to gripe about something that isn't your fault. But it's a thing. I keep hearing this is what frustrates me to no end today about some movie fans today. It's like I'm reading some people like about the Joker movie, right? Some people's like, look, if the Joker movie doesn't look good to you, then the Joker movie doesn't look good to you. Nothing wrong with that. That's totally fair. But the thing that frustrates me is, well, if it's not, because I see a lot of people seeing this. Well, if it's not in the DCU and there's not going to be a sequel, what's the point? Why should I bother watching it? You watch it because it's a good movie. Like, seriously, the prevailing attitude today that fucking pisses me off is this whole thing is that every fucking thing has to be in a shared universe. Everything has to have 18 more movies that's going to come after it. And now it's like, oh, well, if it's not part of a shared cinematic universe and it's not going to have 18 more sequels, why bother watching it? Because of why movies have always been made. To watch and enjoy a good movie. Get out of here with this stupid notion that something has to be a part of an 18-part series or has to be a part of an ongoing expanded 50,000 character cinematic universe in order to be worth watching it. What kind of stupidity is that we've been buying into? We watch a good movie because it's a good movie. We watch a movie for the intrinsic value it has in and of itself on its own merits. Well, I've never seen Godfather, but they're not going to make another one after 3, so why should I watch The Godfather? I've never seen Shawshank Redemption. How many sequels did they make? None. There are no sequels to Shawshank Redemption. Well, then why would I watch it? What's the point? Because it's one of the fucking best movies ever made! Anyway. So I just get so frustrated these days by this growing belief that every bloody thing has to be in a big shared cinematic universe, or it has to be a part of a 25-part franchise. And if not, then it has no inherent value. Listen, if you like Spider-Man Far From Home and you sat down and you watched the movie and it was enjoyable to you and it was fun to you, then that's the point. That's the point. So what I would say to you, Kevin, my fellow film fan loving brother, what I would suggest to you is that if you were thinking about going to see Spidey again, notwithstanding all this drama about the 7 extra minutes and whatnot, but if you enjoyed Spider-Man Far From Home and you had a good time with it, so much so that you were thinking about going to experience that movie again, then go see the movie again. Who the F cares whether Sony and Marvel don't have their deal anymore? Who the F cares is there's not going to be a next thing? It doesn't change the inherent artistic and entertainment value of that movie on its own. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. You know? Shawshank Redemption is one of the greatest motion pictures ever made. Don't give me this.
Well, if there's not 5 sequels that come after it, it's not part of a shared cinematic universe, why should I bother watching it?
I don't know, because you're not an idiot? You know, it's just, it's infuriating to me. Look, I love shared cinematic universes. You know I do. I love the MCU. I love the DCEU. I love what's going on with, I love franchises. I love the Mission Impossible franchise. I love the James Bond franchise. I love franchises and shared cinematic universe. They have a place in the grand tapestry that is the movie-going experience. But they're not the only bloody things. Movies are meant to be great on their own. Great on their own. And if they have extra stuff, great. If they don't, who cares? If you like a movie, it doesn't suddenly become unenjoyable because it's not going to have a sequel. I just let us together, brothers and sisters in film fandom, let's move beyond this ridiculousness and appreciate movies for what they are, individual movies. Where a movie has inherent value on its own and stands on its own merits, whether it is or isn't connected to a larger franchise or cinematic universe. Because the minute we lose that, and there's a part of me that fears we're losing that a little bit, that we're buying into this sniveling, idiotic mentality that,
oh, everything's got to be a part of a shared cinematic universe, part 7, 8, 9. If it's not, why would I bother watching it?
I don't know, because you're not a moron? Maybe. Anyway, that's one of my little peeves going on right now. That's one of my peeves going on right now. But hey, listen, all I'm going to say, Kev, is like, listen, if you like that movie and it entertained you and it gave you a good experience and you enjoyed watching it, then who cares whether or not they're going to make a Marvel Sony partnered sequel to it later? That doesn't change the fact that the movie was a good movie for you, that you enjoyed. It was a positive experience for you. You were entertained by it. Why not go back and watch it again? Don't let the fact that they're not going to do another sequel to it change any of that. It doesn't change any of that. Go watch it again, even with the stupid 7 extra minutes. Go watch it again if you want to watch it again. If you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. Who the F cares about anything else? Anyway. That's my little rant for the day. Anyway, Duskaur, I don't know how to pronounce it, writes, hope to see Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen next week. Yeah, I know I'm not going to be able to. I'm so bummed out about that. My weekend and week are just packed. And I know, okay, I'll let you guys see what I'm looking at here. I am completely right now kind of distracted. Because you know when I mentioned just a minute ago about Bedazzled? I said, oh, guys, watch Bedazzled. It's so good. I decided to pop up I decided to bring up the IMDb page for Bedazzled. And one of the very first things... Hold on a second. Why is this not working? There we go. One of the very first images that popped up for Bedazzled was this image of Elizabeth Hurley from Bedazzled. Elizabeth Hurley is simply, male or female, one of the most stunning living creatures ever to walk the face of the earth, male or female. And she plays the devil in Bedazzled. She actually plays the devil in Bedazzled. And so I just realized that was still up on my screen from when I looked at it earlier, and I realized, God, I'm constantly being distracted by this vision of Elizabeth Hurley. My God, she's so beautiful. Anyway, okay, let's move on here. Oh my God, we've already gone over 2.5 hours. Okay, guys, just a couple more, and then we're gonna have to wrap up today. The last comic book standing writes. What roles do you feel had the biggest physical transformation for the, or what roles do you feel had the biggest physical transformation for the actor/actress? Christian Bale, in The Machinist. That's a huge one. Benicio del Toro in Fear and Loathing Las Vegas. The 300 Spartans. That was huge. Thor Endgame. Well, he didn't really go through a body transformation. He just put on a prosthetic body at that point. Out of the ones you listed, I got to go Christian Bale for The Machinist. I mean, it's so extreme. I mean, he almost risked his life. And this is before they were doing good CGI to fake body skinniness. I think he said, if I remember correctly, in talking about getting and prepping himself physically for The Machinist, he literally was eating a can of tuna and an apple a day. And that was it. He was eating 1 can of tuna and 1 apple per day. And doing a bunch of cardio to burn the calories. And it's just dangerous stuff. I don't think anybody... he's come out and said, by the way, Christian Bale's come out and said that, I'm never going to do that again. Like, I'm never going to go through that extreme of a body transformation again. You know, it was physically dangerous. He knows he shouldn't do stuff like that again. And then he goes into the completely opposite direction by packing on a ton of weight for the Dick Cheney. What was it? Vice? Yeah, for Vice. And he said that one is going to be the last time he goes through a major body swing. He's not going to do it anymore. And nor should he. Maybe a little bit, but extremes like Vice or The Machinist, that stuff's dangerous. But yeah, that was one of the biggest ones to me, dude. That was absolutely one of the biggest ones to me. All right. Anthony Cullen writes, you won't let me live. Oh, this is from Justice League. You won't let me live. You won't let me die. The world needs you, but does it need you? Tell me. Do you bleed? One of my favorite scenes in the DCU. Absolutely. That's a great moment. First of all, 2 of the best scenes in the DCU both revolve around the lines, tell me, do you bleed? Once when Batman says it in Batman versus Superman, and then that moment in Justice League when Superman says it to Batman. I love that. You won't let me live. You won't let me die. It's a great moment. Actually, the whole scene is great. When Superman is standing there at his broken memorial, and the rest of the Justice League team shows up to try to stop him, and he's like beating them all down. And even the Flash, come on, even if you don't like Justice League, you got to tell me you like that one scene. As he's taken on everybody else, he's got like Wonder Woman in one hand, he's got Aquaman in the other hand, and he's like, I don't know, it's just something with Cyborg. And then Flash decides he's going to super speed around, right? He's going to super speed around him. And that little thing of, and then Ezra Miller's face when he realizes that Superman is also in that Speed Force kind of way with him. The look on Ezra Miller's face of, it was a great moment. And then that then kind of culminates in, you won't let me live, you won't let me die. The world needs you, but does it need you? Tell me, do you bleed? Oh, it's a great moment. It's a great moment. I love that moment. All right. I don't get likes writes. Will the Sony Marvel split affect Spider-Man 3 box office? Honestly, probably not. Look, the next Spider-Man's box office will completely depend on how good the movie is and how good it looks. One of the things I've found out about fandom is, in as much as a lot of people often whine, I'm not going to go see this. Yeah, then they do. They do go see it. So ultimately, no, I don't think it won't have any real effect. I think if the next Spider-Man comes out and it doesn't look like it's any good, that's going to affect it. If the next Spider-Man movie comes out by Sony and the word is it's not any good, that'll affect it. But look, if the next Spider-Man movie comes out and it looks good and the word of mouth is good on it and that they do a good job making it like they did with, Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, then it's going to make over $700 million, just like every other Spider-Man movie has. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know that the next Spider-Man movie will be $1 billion movie, but it doesn't need to be. I think it'll make over $700 million. It'll be fine, unless it looks bad. So that will be what determines that, I think. All right. Christian Borges writes, it has tons of issues, but on a stylistic level, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is everything I want out of a Spidey film. The score, cinematography, action are all great and really help me resonate with it despite its issues. You know what? I'll say this, Christian. I'll say this. I don't think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the dumpster fire that some people make it out to be. I do think it was a massive step backwards. And that's unfortunate. I don't think it's a particularly good film. But The issues to me about it not being a good film mostly revolve around the villain characters. Electro was terrible. What they did with Dane DeHaan in that movie was terrible. But it doesn't take away that there are, I believe, good elements of that movie. Elements like the cinematography actually in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is really quite good. I think the action is really quite good. I think the score is really quite good. I do. I like that stuff in it. It's just that there are these other elements that are really big and hard to ignore that dragged it down from what I thought was a very good The Amazing Spider-Man 1. I thought the first Amazing Spider-Man was actually really quite good, but this one took a big nosedive. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I agree with you, Christian. I believe those elements were pretty good. And you know what? The most beautiful thing about movies is that it's all subjective. If you watch that movie, who cares if a lot of people dislike it? Who cares? If you watch that movie and it hit you in such a way that you found it really enjoyable, then that's all that matters. We can all talk about whether we liked it or disliked it and why we liked it and why we disliked it. But the bottom line for you as an individual is, since film is subjective, how did the movie hit you? And if the movie hit you in such a way that your experience with it was a positive one, then that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I can sit here and talk about why I didn't like it or the parts of it that I thought were problematic, but that doesn't take away from the fact that when you watch it, you had a good time, and that's what matters. All right, just 3 more here. We're going to wrap it up. Coolsome XD writes, I like the new Joker trailer. Got across he's broken without a tattoo on his forehead saying broken. I meant damaged. But no, here's the thing. I think, honestly, straight up, I think Jared Leto's Joker is massively underappreciated. I don't think he's the best Joker, don't get me wrong, but I really liked his Joker. And that whole thing, damaged being tattooed on his head, wasn't to let us know that he's damaged. The fact that a character would tattoo that on themselves, that to me says something about the character other than just the fact that he's damaged. I remember when I saw the first image of that, I thought that's great. I really did. I thought somebody who would do that and would label themselves like that tells us something about the character beyond the word itself being damaged. I actually thought it was quite good. Now, look, this Joker is going to be a very different Joker. He's clearly going to be different than Jack's Joker. He's going to be different than Heath's Joker. He's going to be different than Caesar's Joker. He's going to be different than Hamill's Joker. He's going to be different than Jared's Joker. He's going to be completely different. But I believe in every single one of those Jokers, there are elements that I think have real value to them. And I am unapologetically a guy who likes the Suicide Squad Joker. I don't think they used him enough. I think he was underused, but I like that Joker, and I think there's a lot of potential to it. I'm not saying it's my favorite Joker, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I do think this new one looks really great. All right, Striker X Worm writes, have you seen Angel Has Fallen? Loved it so much. Again, I talked about it at the beginning of this. Nope, haven't seen it. I had no intention of seeing it, but I'm hearing a few people telling me now that it's actually pretty good. The second one let me down so much, I decided to take a pass. But maybe I'll have to go out and try it. I'm having enough of you guys telling me that you liked it. I might have to give it a chance here. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Striker. Christian Borges writes, also, I Choose You from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a gorgeous piece of music, even though it's from the really creepy scene where Peter admits he's stalking Gwen. I don't remember it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I do remember through the movie, I really did quite like the music. I don't remember that particular piece, Christian, I gotta say, but I'm glad you do, because clearly it made an impact on you. All right. Ed Graham, 1028 writes, or Ed Garm writes, Angel Has Fallen was so fun. Better than the first one? I have a hard time believing that, because I thought the first one was really good. Not surprising to hear it's better than the second one, but another person saying that they realize I may have to check this thing out. I might just have to do it. Austin Church writes, over under 20%. Jared Leto returns as Joker in the DCU. Over. I'm not saying he will. But 20% is a pretty low number, so I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take the over on that. I believe there is a more than a 20% chance that he comes back to the DCU. All right, guys, last one today. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, even though Midsommar is my second favorite movie of the year so far, just behind The Farewell, I gotta say I totally understand why it's divisive. Yeah, I'm like that a lot too, Razor. Now, Midsommar was not one of my favorites. Let's be honest with you. I thought it was all right. Not one of my favorites, but I have a number of movies. I totally relate with what you're saying, that I have a number of movies that I watch and I hated, and I go, but I can see why there are going to be people who like this movie, though. Like, this did not work for me, but it's got these things in it that I can see other people appreciating. So I think a bunch of people may like it. I've also got movies that I love that I go, man, I love that. Whew, it's not going to be for everybody, though. Like, I loved it. I think this movie's great, but I can totally see why there are going to be people who don't like it. And I think Midsommar is one of those. Like, again, I'm not a big fan of it, but I could see why people would like it. And I think you're standing on the polar opposite side of me from that you didn't, or that you do love it, but you can totally see why there would be people like me who didn't. And sometimes those are really important films to have around, you know? So there's that. All right, you know what? I said that was the last one, but Razor's Edge put in one more, so we'll take this last one from Razor's Edge. Considering the big jump in box office with each movie in the series, over under 35%, John Wick 4 crosses 500 million worldwide. The thing is, the reason, what did the new one make, like 300 and something? Hold on a second. A John Wick 3 box office. Yeah, 321 million. The reason that John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, was able to make 321 million is largely because it's so damn good. John Wick Chapter 3 is the best of the franchise, in my opinion. So there's a big asterisk you have to put on this question, Razor. It's, what are the chances over 35%? Well, it depends. Is it going to be a good one? If it's as good as John Wick Chapter 3, I'll go over 35%. It still has a long way. Like 321 means it needs to make as much plus 180 million more. That's a bunch. That's like a 50% jump. But if the next John Wick is as good as John Wick Chapter 3, I'll take over 35%. If, however, it's only, say, as good as John Wick Chapter 2, which is still pretty good, but if it's only as good as John Wick Chapter 2, I would say under that. It's going to make money, though. It's going to make money, but will it make that much? If John Wick 4 is as good as John Wick 3, I will say over 35% chance that it can get to that $500 million mark. All right, guys. That will do. We got like 2 hours and 45 minutes today. Today was a long one. But listen, for everybody else who still has questions outstanding for today, from Armando, Micah T, and everybody else all the way down, do not worry. I will be doing a companion video addressing all of the leftover questions that we still have. We still probably have about a good 45 minutes worth of questions to get to. Do not worry. I'm going to get to all of those questions in a companion video. Keep your eyes open for that. It'll pop up either today or a little bit later tomorrow, depending how fast I can get through the rest of my stuff today. So thank you to everybody who sent those in. By the way, one last time, I'm going to pick out one of the super chats that got sent in just as a thank you to you guys. I'm going to pick out one of the super chats sent in here today at random, and I will notify you via Messenger. I'll notify you that you got picked, and I'm going to ship out that Star Wars poster to you. So there you go. Anyway, guys, that will do it and wrap it up for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Congratulations for making it through another week. Don't forget, guys, this weekend, we're going to do some open mics this weekend. I'm also going to do a little bit of play and chat. Either later this afternoon or sometime this weekend. I downloaded the new World of Warcraft Classic. It's been forever. I can't remember how to do a single thing in it, but I'm going to start it up and I'm going to play it, and we'll do a little bit of play and chat with that sometime over the next couple of days. Keep your eyes open for that as well. And then, of course, the John Campea Show returns again on Monday. So final reminder, guys, everybody else who still had outstanding questions to come, don't worry. They're going to get answered in a video. Keep your eyes open for the next companion video. All right, guys, have a fan-frickin-tastic weekend, everybody. Thank you to all you guys for sending in questions, not just because you gave us great, fun things to talk about, but you also supported the channel along the way as you did it, and I thank you for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great day. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.